Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Gaming Block Podcast, your number one podcast for all the pertinent video game news spanning across all platforms, including Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and
Wii
more.
U.
And the Wii U. I'm your host, Andrew Ron, and today I'm joined by one half of the bad boys of video games, Jacob Ward.
Hello.
On today's show, we're going to be talking about the new PlayStation showcase that is going to present in T-minus 2 days. And we're going to just explode all over your eardrums about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But before that, tradition dictates I ask the bad boys of video games how their month has been, because that's how this show rolls now.
I mean, honestly, you should probably stop saying asking the bad boys a video game.
Yeah, it's always one or the other. Roger's not here. He might be here later. You know, this is one of those little treat podcasts where if you stick around and you listen to the whole thing, you might get a little treat.
Might be a guest host.
Yeah.
That's an actual host.
You might get a guest host, which is actually supposed to be here, but we think he fell asleep. So we're gonna start this, and if he wakes up, he'll hop in. If he doesn't, though, we're gonna pee on his face.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, I know he doesn't listen to the podcast, so he'll never see it coming.
That's
ever.
canon.
Well, that and his eyes will be closed, so he definitely won't see it coming. Because anyways, Jake, how you doing? You doing well? How's life been down in Alabama? You still roll tiding?
Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, I just been working a lot.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's
playing a lot of video games, mostly Zelda.
That's, I think, what a lot of people have been doing this past week. And you know what? We're gonna get to Zelda talk, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you. We're gonna talk about Tears of the Kingdom in a non-spoiler fashion. And when I say non-spoiler, that means no like big secrets, no plot points, but obviously it's going to be a general discussion. So we will talk about some things in vagueness, or we'll talk about maybe some gameplay mechanics. So if you're really sensitive to like you're on lockdown, no spoilers at all, skip that part. But if you don't care, which honestly at this point, if you do care, you've played it for 50, 60 hours already like we have.
Or
more. Keep listening. Well, we'll keep listening either way, but listen to that segment too. But going over to Zelda, I want to talk about it. The working and playing Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
The wildest thing happened. So obviously Breath of the Wild came out 6 years ago. Launch of the Switch. I remember March 3rd, 2017. What a glorious day. I was living with my grandparents at the time.
Had to wait 2 days.
And I remember going to your place to go to Walmart because I had bought the game on Amazon, but it was going to take 2 days to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought a second copy of Breath of the Wild at Walmart to play it that day.
And you bought a third.
Somehow, yeah. I don't remember, but I ended up
GameStop.
Yeah, I ended up with 3 copies of Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't keep all of them. I think I returned one and then gave one away. But regardless, some people today are still playing Breath of the Wild. Maybe people that, can't afford Tears of the Kingdom or never played the original game. And one of those people are my wife, since I don't think we've done a podcast since I've been married. I'm married now. I'm locked down. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But my wife has been playing Breath of the Wild, and she is borderline obsessed. Yesterday, Sunday, our day off, she started playing in the morning. And then after a few hours, she was like, my eyes hurt. I think it's from all the gaming. I got to stop. And I was like, that's understandable. You don't play a lot of games. You're maybe overstimulated. Let's give it a break. It might have been an hour break. And then she was back on it. And she just started playing it again. And it's like, it is so cool because I'm watching her play this game for the first time. And it's like the commercials, dude. Like she's doing things where she's have you seen that new Tears of the Kingdom commercial with the guy on the bus and things like that?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah.
He's like so excited when he realized outdoors are real.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, you can do that? And he's like, oh, that can't work. No. Darn it, that's not working. Oh, look at that. And she's like literally doing that. I'm watching her like play it, and she's like dying to this thing 20 times. And she's like, I can't do. And then she'll like do something a little different, or she's mastered the usage of bombs.
Yeah.
Where I saw her knock. I do too, man. She's gonna be so disappointed in Tears of the Kingdom. But I saw her like knock an enemy down, run back, turn around, throw a bomb at him, and blow it up right in his head. And I was like, She's dexterous. She's playing video games. But it's really cool to see, and I'm hoping that I'm kind of like comparing too, because I'll be sitting in the corner playing Tears of the Kingdom while she's playing Breath of the Wild, and she doesn't give a shit about spoilers or anything like that. So I'll show her things that I'm doing, and she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy," or "That's intense," and stuff. I'm like, "Yeah, it's not in your game." It's like, don't even worry about that stuff. Like,
Hmm.
Breath of the Wild is so vanilla.
It's good tutorial for
Very
Tears of the
much
Kingdom.
so. You thought the Great Plateau was a tutorial plot twist. The whole game is a tutorial for the next game. Um, I'm hard pressed to find a reason to go back to Breath of the Wild after Tears of the Kingdom, but it's also new game syndrome
Hmm.
where
Has
why
she
would you ever
found
go
any of the
back?
story?
Not yet. She's encountered some people of the Zora,
Mm-hmm.
and it was funny because she started walking along this river, and the dude would go like, "Hey," or whatever, and it'll
Hmm.
start panning over, and she was like, "What is happening? What is this?" And then it panned over and showed the Zora's face, and she's never played Zelda or something. So she was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I was like, "That's a Zora." She's like, "What does he want?"
Man, she should have seen the old Zoras.
Yeah, I like the old Zora designs
Mm-hmm.
better, but
Where they're like when they're enemies.
oh, what game were they enemies?
Like uh, Zelda One, Link to the Past.
Oh, okay,
They
you're talking
shoot. They
about
pop out of the.
pixels.
Oh,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
okay,
And Link Between Worlds. They were enemies again.
yeah. I forgot. It's Link to the Past again.
They look like creatures from the Black Lagoon or whatever.
I can hardly remember what they look like in those games. I just think of the 3D Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'm more of a 3D Zelda fan than 2D.
Yeah.
But I love all of them. But like my general knowledge is much more engrossed in the 3D games than the 2D games.
Oh yeah.
But I want to save the Zelda talk, even though I just talked about Zelda for 5 minutes. I want to save it till later in case Roger gets here. I want to have it for the like sort of end of the news part because I do think it is big news. This is a generational release, I'd argue. Even if we're counting Breath of the Wild, I would say that this does more for games than Breath of the Wild absolutely did. I mean, which Breath of the Wild did a lot, and I think it kind of like showed the potential of an open world and being like, hey, you guys are doing your open worlds. This is how we're doing our open world. It's not necessarily something completely new, but it's very refined in Breath of the Wild with the openness and like you can kind of do whatever you want, even go to the final boss.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a new idea per se, but they definitely like hit it to a T, in Breath of the Wild and like
Mm-hmm.
made it the best it could be. But then Tears of the Kingdom, they said, okay, that T, we're gonna go U through Z now, and we're gonna like make it an actual like fantastic game. But
Mm-hmm. I do miss some of
regardless,
the tools from Breath of the Wild that you had at your disposal.
I do too. I miss Stasis. Stasis is
Mm-hmm.
great, and even Cryosis. I'll be honest,
Mm-hmm.
Cryosis was so useful and so fun, and it being gone, I'm like, eh. But again, we'll save it because there
Right.
are
And
there
you
are
can make
some,
ice platforms, which is nice.
yeah,
Like with
shooting ice
ice
arrows and
magic.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other games though that I wanted to talk about because I have been playing games other than other than Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, I also like that we're back to the title being something in the game. Because
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, there was no Breath of the Wild, but
It was
Tears of the
wild.
Kingdom, there are tears.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, there's secret stones.
but I'm gonna go over to my Steam profile because they've all been Steam games, and I've been kind of on this kick of getting trophies or
Mm-hmm.
achievements on Steam,
Oh, I know. You'll go to any
and
length.
I 100%ed PGA 2K21. Kind of a pain in the ass, and I actually feel like it was 100% that was like not cheap at all. You had to beat like the cup, you had to beat all the rivals, you had to like hit the ball correctly or drive it a certain distance stuff. There's actually like
Mm-hmm.
golf challenges in there, and I was like, oh, this isn't a cheap 100%, but I beat that over the weekend after months. It took like 26 hours or something. So I rewarded myself with some cheap, easy 100%. I played Emily is Away, which, man, did you ever play Emily is Away?
Yeah, I never played the sequel, but I played the original one.
I didn't either, but man,
Mm-hmm.
what a good game.
It's really
Like
good. Mm-hmm.
like I just hopped in for like 20 minutes to like grind out the rest of the achievements. They're all super easy. They're all just profile pictures or some shit. Um but like I just starting the game and it has that classic like dial up sound, and then it's like the AOL starting up sound and shit. I'm like,
You
ah.
got mail.
I was sitting here and I was just getting all nostalgic about it, and I was talking to Susan because she's in the game room a lot more now that there's a bed in here.
Yeah,
Um, she's like, it's
all the shelves
comfy.
are gone.
Yeah, it's not a game room anymore. She's
Hmm.
destroyed it. But I was gushing over it. I was like, ah, don't you love these sounds? And she's just like, I don't really know them. I was like, oh man, you're missing out. If you don't know the American Online sound or dial up, there's just something about it where it was like you're entering into a new portal, you know? Like
Yeah,
you're going into this new world called the internet. And really you just got on there to get to cartoonnetwork.com or
or mini
miniclip.
clip. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's like all
addicting
your
games.
Disney games.
Hmm.
There wasn't much, but
I said
occasionally
addicting games.
yeah,
Hmm.
and RuneScape.
Yes,
And
yes.
eventually RuneScape. Which is
Funky truck.
a little later down the line. That was around like 2007, I think, 6, 7, 8, around there. Um, but before that, I have distinct memories of like being at my grandparents' house and going up. And God bless it. That was also the way that I watched porn for the first time. Which I don't even think I watched porn. I remember this is such a memory, and it's something I think back to, and I'm like, A, I can't believe I got away with it, and B, I don't even know what I was doing.
Hmm.
But I had to have been in like second grade or first grade. Also, C, I had the potential to be such a devious child given the system that my parent used, and I'll let you know in a second. But so I went up to the computer and I just typed in like naked lady, right? So
Yeah.
naked lady, naked girl. And I was a dumb kid. I don't think I erased the history. I don't even think I closed out on the page. I think I left that shit open. And I looked it up, and I think what I did was I spelled naked wrong on purpose. Because in my mind, I was like, I'm going to spell this wrong on purpose so they won't think it's me. And then again, I have this locked in my memory. I remember going down the stairs and then my mother being like, who's been on the computer? And of course, we all say, not me. I'm lying.
Hmm.
Everyone else is telling the truth, not me. And, they're like, line up or whatever. And I think it was like me, my youngest or my closest brother. The other two I don't think existed at this time. And maybe two of my cousins. And they're like, who did it? Who was on the computer looking up things? And I don't even think they even said like they're looking up naked ladies. They're just like, who was on the computer looking up things? And we're all just like, not me, not me. And then they're like, spell naked. And I remember having this thought of being like, I got them. And I spelled naked the right way. And I did not get in trouble.
Oh,
And I
hell
think
yeah.
to this day, it is an unsolved mystery of that house. Who looked up naked lady? It was me.
Well, hey, well, mystery solved. Now you're
And that,
now you're
that's
grounded.
and that's something too where it's like, man, I got away with that so easily. Thank God I was a good kid because
Hmm.
I could have gotten away with
Like drugs.
so much. I,
He spelled it DROOGS.
mm, yeah, that is actually
Mm-hmm.
like how you spell drugs for real. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
else has been spelling it wrong. But yeah, so that was the archaic way that we looked up naked ladies back in the day. And then my first real foray into pornography was girls kissing, fully clothed, like on a couch or something.
Yeah.
I was in middle school, so I was very tame as a child. I wasn't actually looking up nude photos or anything,
I think
but
most of my exposure to it was like if I would like go on Google Images. So like I would make a lot of like I don't even remember what it was, but I would use like images from like Pokemon or whatever video games I liked to like make things on like Word, just very basic like
yeah,
posters or whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like because Google was freaking like no censors, just like you would just get pornographic images related
Dude,
to those subjects all the time.
dude, that's the thing. Is that so? Going back to like me
Hmm.
watching girls kissing on a couch for the first time, that was on YouTube.
Yeah,
So where I saw that for the first time was on
that's still
YouTube.
on YouTube.
Kind of. It's kind of on YouTube now. But I feel I think it's great because more access to the internet meant that there's worse things on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good in one sense that it is so regulated now and is so closed off with these major corporations. But on the other hand, fuck man, these kids missed out.
Mm-hmm.
They missed out. The
It's
internet
a
back in
different
the
world.
day was awesome. 2007 to like 2012 internet was the fucking shit.
It's terrible now. Can't even find out if it's a good idea to microwave anything now.
Right, right. They'll never know. And
Mm-hmm.
God, and how stupid were we? That's what we
Right?
watched.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, oh, well, what are you doing, Andrew? Ah, I'm watching this guy microwave a Nokia. What are you up to?
Will it blend? That is
Will
the
it
question.
blend? And then
Mm-hmm.
Smosh. We can go down this
Mm-hmm.
rabbit hole so far down.
NH.
I did see it though. What's his name? Trayvon Brown or whatever, the Chocolate Rain guy.
Yeah.
41st birthday the other day.
Wow. He was
Yeah,
so young.
made me feel old because I'm like,
Chocolate rain.
I was like, was he that old? And it's like, no, he was like he was like our age in 2006,
Remember
2007.
on YouTube, I saw this. It was like one of the first things I saw on YouTube, other than like a laser collection or whatever. Was this like video, like a very graphic animated video of like the bomb hitting Hiroshima, like a child getting melted. I don't even know what it's from. It was
Are we kind of,
Elijah showed me that.
are we kind of psychotic though?
I
Because
guess.
you just described bomb melting child in Hiroshima, and we
Yeah, I
laughed.
still remember like the vivid detail, like her eyeball like gooed out of her head, the skin melted.
Like fucking one of the worst things in human history, one of the most
Mm-hmm.
horrific things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, it's kind of funny though, because the internet made me a really fucked up person.
9/11.
At least we aren't standing for like Mr. Beast or Andrew Tate or anything like
Oh
that,
my god! Right.
or the
The worst we do is PewDiePie, I guess.
yeah, which
But not really anyone. It's just like I watch people for their entertainment value. When they stop being entertaining, I was done.
right, we miss a whole like actual becoming celebrities and then
Mhm.
using that celebrity power and people like obsessing with you. We didn't really have that, thankfully.
No, it's just like, hey, these guys funny. I'll watch them.
Yeah, well, they're kind of stupid. So
Mm-hmm.
not
Like this
sure.
guy's playing Happy Wheels a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we got here.
I don't know. You start talking about porn.
There's it's check the box.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been playing anything other than Tears of the Kingdom, or has it been strictly just Zelda?
The last like week, yes, that's all I've been playing. But
Yeah.
I played a little bit of the Evil Dead game finally.
Oh, you know what? I have too.
Yeah, we've been
I
playing
forgot
that.
about that. Yeah, good.
That's been
It's
pretty
good.
fun. A lot better than Dead by Daylight.
Yeah,
I think it's a lot more balanced. I mean,
breaking
there's
news.
some. Huh?
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Dead by Daylight verified on Steam Deck now.
Whoa.
Valve finally fixed the easy anti-cheat, so all those
Okay.
games that were previously locked out before.
Like Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Because it started loading normally now, which was
I think
I noticed.
anything with EAC, and that's what I love about the Steam Deck too. Not to like cut you off too much, but like I love that this is like a still in development console,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think the promise and the reach of you can play any game on it up to a certain date, because we're already seeing modern games really struggle on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that promise of you can play any game on there, they're really striving for that, and I'm genuinely surprised and impressed that they are getting as many games as they are to run on this fucking thing. But yeah, Evil Dead game is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's an enjoyable experience.
It's great if you like the classic Evil Dead.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if you like the TV show, because it's more so like rooted in the kind of TV show look and feel.
Mm-hmm. No.
Or Army of Darkness.
Yeah, not so much the 70s movie.
No,
the 80s. So.
Around that time.
So, all right. Well.
Oh, and I did. I guess speaking of Evil Dead, real fast. I know it's not the movie podcast, but I sat down and watched the director / and Bruce Campbell commentaries for the first 3 movies, which is really good.
Nice. I love that first movie is just a college project.
Oh yeah, and like it's funny because like people just like drop out. They have to get new actors, or they kill them in the story because they couldn't get that actor back or whatever. So they just cover someone in makeup and not have to worry about it.
It's so like, it's just a reminder that anyone can make movies. Don't let Hollywood own the whole thing. And who knows? You make a shitty movie now, it gets a cool following. You get a PS5 game and a blockbuster hit. I don't know if it's a blockbuster actually, but a definitely financial hit with Evil Dead Rise. 40 years later.
Oh yeah,
and it's still going. So it's like good for them.
and it's not like oversaturated either.
Oh no, no, no. Although
But
they're talking about making them yearly or bi-yearly if this one's
yeah,
successful, which it is.
be
We'll
fine. We'll
see.
see what happens with it.
Yeah, we'll see.
They've yet to disappoint me. But it's so funny like watching the commentaries for it because like Bruce would like get hit like really hard by something. You say like, see right here, see where I get like hit really hard by something versus like everything else. That was Sam. He did that. That's Sam right there. Yeah,
Sam did that.
it's really fun having that like kind of back and forth between them when you're watching the commentaries.
No, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For the essence of time,
Okay,
although we're not on a time crunch at all, we can relax here. We can fuck it. We'll go until 1 in the morning.
please no.
We're up until then, anyways. Last time we recorded, we had only 2 hours because Zencaster you have to pay for it now, and they're like, "We'll give you 2 hours free." And I was like, "I don't have money for this right now, but we're recording the podcast." Me and Roger, I think it was a good show. To be fair, it was
Mhm.
pretty tight and concise, and we didn't really have to rush anything. But at the end, I was getting a little nervous. I was shaking in my boots a little bit, but we don't got to worry about that. But yeah, we're gonna
Got
move
all the
on.
money in the world now.
Oh yeah, all $20. We're gonna move on to the gaming riddle. If you're confused by that, oh my gosh, we have a soundboard. We could actually make a legitimate theme song. Although I think that the audience has come to love our what is it, like jazz? You know in jazz when they just play a little beat?
Yeah,
Yeah, whatever
like
that's
freeform
called.
jazz.
Yeah, they like a freeform intro for the
Mm-hmm.
gaming or the gaming riddle. Jake,
Yeah,
you're winning
yeah.
25 points. Roger has
Roger's catching
17
up.
and I have 14. He is. That's because we've had some episodes without you.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been kind of easy, but this one's a little cryptic, it's a little hard.
Yeah,
I'm going to see
so
how
cryptid.
well you do on
Mhm.
this. It's not even a riddle either. This is more
No.
Jeopardy, but I was pressed for time. It's been a month since the last episode, okay? I didn't have that much time. What's black and blue and yellow all over? You get 5 questions because this is cryptic as fuck. What is
Is this an
black?
arcade title?
It is, yes.
Okay.
He's already on the right path, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it
There's
Pac-Man?
only 3. God damn it.
That's
God damn it. Yeah,
all I
it
can think
is.
of.
It is Pac-Man. Why?
Pac-Man covered in ghost guts.
I literally have to like coddle Roger.
Yeah, I honestly,
gotta, like-
I was gonna start
gotta-
by saying Pac-Man. I wasn't even gonna do the
I
arcade one. I
gotta
was just like,
I gotta cut his steak, and then I gotta cut it again, and I gotta put the
Yeah,
spoon
chew it
in
up.
his fucking mouth, and then he sometimes still drops the piece of steak on the ground. But with you, I say, "What's black and blue?" Really, Pac-Man, of course. I mean, the yellow though. That's iconic. You think video games, you think
Mhm.
yellow. You're gonna think
That's just like as soon as I got the arcade part, I was like, all right, well, now it's Pac-Man.
you're gonna think either
Pac-Man
Pac-Man
or Dig
or oh god, what's it called? Bumble, Buzz
Buck
Bumble.
Bumble.
Yeah, the Butt
Well,
Bumble.
the Buck
Yeah,
Bumble.
yeah, yeah. What game was that?
Buck Bumble for the N64.
Buck Bumble.
Yeah, pretty sure it's Buck Bumble.
Yeah, Buck Bumble. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's yellow.
Mm-hmm.
When is he coming back?
Donkey Kong.
When are we gonna make
When's
Buck Bumble
Donkey Kong
2?
coming back?
Well, we don't care about Donkey Kong. We care about Bumble. Nintendo.
Where's Metroid?
The ball's in your court. We just got Metroid. The last
Oh.
Buck Bumble game was over 20 years ago, okay? Stop being so
Conker?
selfish.
What happened to Conker? He ended up in Project Spark and
I was about to
died.
say, he was in that one Microsoft game that no one fucking played.
I played his DLC. That's
All
about
right.
it.
Jake, it's time for Meta on My Mind. This is the part of the show
Okay.
where we go through recent Metacritic scores and just kind of look at them for curiosity's sake because they really mean nothing at all.
Yeah.
But it's a little interesting to see what game critics are thinking. And also we kind of talk about things coming out or that have already come out. Over on
really?
PS5, Humanity, you might remember this game. This is a game that you play as a dog, and it's kind of a puzzle game, and there's like thousands of NPCs
Thousands
on
of
the
dogs.
screen at time. It was during that initial PS5 reveal. It was just one of their like Humanity. It finally came out. It has an 85.
Okay.
And if you're a PS Plus subscriber, I think it's just the normal PS Plus, but it might be the essential. It is free on there as well. So if you want to go ahead and
I
grab
have
that.
been slacking on getting on my PlayStation and redeeming my games. I
Yeah.
still get them, but I'm like always like, oh, it's almost the end of the month. I should probably get that.
Yeah, me too, me too. They've been good too. Like especially the Essentials one. That's the one to
Mhm.
get, dude. Like
I
if
got the premium. I like having the classic
I
titles.
got the premium too, but you'd probably be fine with Essentials.
Yeah.
Monster Menu, the Scavenger's Cookbook, is also on a PS5. It has a 61. Still better than Redfall, but not too well. Sorry, I'm clearing my throat so much. I just blasted out someone's speakers in their car.
It's
Like
okay.
actually caused a 10 car pile up with that throat clear.
It's dropped so hard.
Over on Xbox, Star Trek Resurgence. New Star Trek game, I guess. I feel like there's a Star Trek game constantly.
I know, right? It never feels like they stop.
Yeah, 67 over there. And then Planet of Lana on Xbox as well, 84. Over on Switch, Puzzle Bobble Every Bubble. New Bubble Bobble game.
Ooh. Well,
Didn't know about
Puzzle
that.
Bobble. It's not the same as Bubble Bobble.
It's the same family. That's a 77. A little game called The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom,
Totk?
which you might be playing right now secretly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
He's like, it's Metacritic time. I don't care about this. As a 95. And on
Don't call me
PC,
out.
Miasma Chronicles.
I think
Miasma?
it's miasma.
Miasma Chronicles,
Mhm.
76. And Darkest Dungeon 2, which I wish Roger was here because he would be hyped for this. That's an 82. Darkest Dungeon 1 was
Ooh.
pretty good. But
Never played it.
those are your Metacritic scores. Now, Jake,
Yes.
we're going to need your full attention on this next one because it's a new segment. Everyone loves these.
Okay.
So, I'm going to look something up real quick.
Okay.
Recently on Twitter,
Yeah.
there was
What's
this
going on with
thing.
class?
There's this thing, and it's called GQ. What GQ is, I don't know. But there's some news site or something like that. GQ posted top 100 video games of all time.
Ooh.
And how they did it was they asked 239 streamers, developers, journalists, game industry people to submit their favorite games, their top 10 games. And then they had some point system with that game, and it led out to the top 100 games. Now, I'm going to read you the top 30, and I'm going to make it quick, just so
Okay.
we can get how bad this list is. All right? So starting at 30, Outer Wilds, 29, Journey, 28, The Last of Us Part 2, 27, Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior, 26, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, 25, Pokemon Red, 24. Oh no, there's plenty of those that should be. KOTOR was like 98 on this.
Huh.
24, Minecraft,
Okay.
23, BioShock, 22, World of Warcraft, 21, Halo, Combat Evolved,
All right.
20,
Say
Elden
that's
Ring.
better than Link to the Past, but I like Halo.
20, Elden Ring, 19, Doom, 1993,
That one sucks.
18, Super Mario 64,
Yeah, I like it. Not that much.
17, Final Fantasy 7 OG,
Okay.
16, Skyrim.
I would love if 16 was the remake.
I think the remake is on this list.
Oh my god.
15, Red Dead Redemption 2.
All right, no.
Number 14, Super Mario World. At number 13, and I'll fight that this is a huge travesty, Ocarina of Time at 13.
Well, I need to know what's above it.
And no, it's at 12.
What?
Disco Elysium.
Gross.
Number 11, Resident Evil 4. Number 10, Half-Life 2. Number 9, Dark Souls.
Like
Number
the original
8,
Dark Souls?
Yeah, the original.
No. It
Yeah.
was way better.
The Dark Souls is
Even people like Dark Souls know Dark Souls 1 sucks. Dark Souls 2 is worse.
There are some bangers though for the top 8. Number 8,
Okay.
Portal 2.
All right.
Number 7, Metal Gear Solid, which I could argue isn't even the best Metal Gear, but it's there.
Okay.
Number 6, Mass Effect 2. Number 5, The Witcher 3. Number 4, Bloodborne. Number 3 is Tetris. Number 2, The Last of Us. And then number 1, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Now, while I think a lot of these games are good, I think this list is fucking terrible, and that was just the top 30. Super Mario Galaxy was number 40.
That's a shame. That's the best one.
Arguably, it is the best one.
Hmm.
Persona 5's on this list at 64. Majora's Mask 69.
Nice.
It is nice, but also not nice. Firewatch is at 80. That game sucks. Fortnite's at 81.
Uh, Wait, what's below it?
Super Mario Odyssey 87.
Disgusting. Where's the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door? That should be top
Um
10.
oh, my bad. KOTOR was number 100.
Oh, it
100.
just made the list. I'm sure Paper Mario's not even
Barely
on there, is it?
barely made the list. Super Mario Kart's at 90. That game sucks.
That's terrible. I mean, I guess like for historical significance, I'm pretty sure it was most of the like pull for stuff like that to be on here.
Well, it just said their favorite games, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but
also historical significance.
I don't feel like that people don't really account for that. They're like, oh, but Mario Kart.
Chrono Trigger's at 42.
That's not. That should be.
Uncharted 2 is at 34. I don't think Paper Mario's not on here. Super Mario Brothers 3 is 36.
Mario Brothers 3, baby.
You heard it here first. The Last of Us is
Best.
better than
It's
Super Mario Brothers 3.
Super Mario, but Super Mario Brothers 3 is better than Last of Us Part 2.
Disco Elysium is better than Final Fantasy 7.
No.
The original Doom,
Mario Brothers 2 should be number 1.
the original Doom is better than Snake Eater. So, anyways, my point is this list is fucking terrible. Like,
Yeah.
Objectively, it is one of the worst lists I've ever seen in my life. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna make our top 100 list. Now, obviously, this would take so fucking long.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100 games. There's a lot of debating. There's a lot of conjecture, a lot of personal opinion. So I wish Roger was here because I'm gonna have to explain this again, but that's fine. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go through every year, starting with 2022. So not this year, and maybe it's probably gonna last until the end of this year. So we'll do this year eventually, but we're gonna go through every year, and we're gonna pick as a team our top 3 games of that year, and we're gonna put them on the list. And then once we have that filled out through, let's say 1977, so this is long-term list.
Yeah.
Then we'll go through and we'll start maybe going through each decade and finding out the best games of the decade. And then there we, you know what I mean? So we can start building this list, and then we can do the 100 through 90, 90 through 80, actually make this right. But it's a new thing we're gonna do. We'll see if people like it.
All right.
But
I'm trying to think what came out last year.
we're gonna start with 2022. And the good thing too is that if you Google 2022 video games, because it is hard to remember, it will tell you. So big ones for last year: Elden Ring, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok came out last year.
Stray,
Pokemon Legends Arceus, Lego Star Wars, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Sifu came out last year. The Saints Row remake, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Gran Turismo 7. That's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I guess. Evil Dead.
Modern Warfare 2 did come out last year, didn't it?
A Plague Tale Requiem. I feel like this one should be easy.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll ask, what do you think we should put on the list first? Of those games, I think
Elden Ring for sure.
Elden Ring, right?
Uh-huh.
That's a giveaway.
Still a game I remember from last year.
That one has to be on the list. Do we put God of War Ragnarok on the list?
I mean, I didn't play it, so that's,
people liked it.
Up to you.
Cult of the Lamb.
That's a big one. I don't know if it's the best game of the year.
Right. See, this is going to be hard because there's going to be some years too that are just shit.
There's Pokemon Legends Arceus, which I think is a pretty cool game compared to Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
Which also came out last year.
I'll go out to bat for Gran Turismo 7. That game is really fucking good. Really good.
For Kingdom Hearts games on Switch Online.
Yeah. Just for our top 100
Cyberpunk
worst games.
2077 coming out on current gen consoles.
Do you object to Gran Turismo?
I don't know. I'm not much of a sports racing gamer, so
yeah.
I mean, I know you like it a lot.
I mean, also general people like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's good buzz about it.
Grand Theft Auto 5 came out again.
Oh, true.
Mm-hmm. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax came out again.
Terrible port. Terrible
Yeah,
port.
bad port.
Oh yeah, terrible.
I didn't know.
Splatoon 3 came out.
Oh yeah,
Do you think that was one of the best games last year though?
I didn't get it. I like Splatoon. So I don't know about that. But it's gonna be Elden Ring or Stray. I like Stray a lot.
We can't put Stray and not put God of War and like God of War and Lego Star Wars were and Pokemon Arceus was better than Stray. Splatoon 3 was better than
Mhm.
Stray.
I guess so. Maybe Evil Dead as well.
Evil Dead's
But
not a bad game, but I
it's
don't think
fun
it's
with
one of the
people. I would probably want to play it by myself though.
you know, I feel like it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. I think God of War should be on there.
Did Resident Evil 8 come out last year?
Did it? If it did, that's the one. It
It was
might
either
have.
last year or the end of the year before.
Resident Evil 8 Village came out 2021.
Okay, this is like the end of 2021.
Okay. Because I was going to say, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
What about Horizon
Ooh,
Forbidden
Power
West?
Wash Simulator came out. That's a great game.
I mean, people do like it.
Mm-hmm.
They
Live
like it a
Alive,
lot.
but I mean it's like kind of a port slash remake. But Live
Um,
Alive is really good.
the Stanley Parable
Ooh, and
Ultra
Stanley Parable was
Deluxe.
awesome. I love that game.
But thinking about the list ahead of time, would we put the Ultra Deluxe or would we put the original?
Well, they're different games.
Yeah, but they're the same concept, and I would say that they're one of
Yeah.
the greatest games for the reason. Like when I think of top 100 lists, Stanley Parable should be on there.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who's 100% of both of them, which one do you think's better?
I mean, I would say Ultra Deluxe because it's got the original game plus a bunch of new stuff that pokes fun at the fact of all like deluxe editions.
I think we should put that one on the list then.
Mm-hmm. Like it's a definitely more than just like DLC. It's a whole new
Okay.
experience.
Okay.
Even the older stuff has like new shit to experience with the bucket.
I think those would be the three then.
Last of Us Part 1.
No. I think Elden Ring, Gran Turismo, and the Stanley Parable.
Okay.
I think those are because also making this list, it's also like the pinnacle of their genre.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think pinnacle of racing, I think either Gran Turismo or Forza Horizon. And I think both of them could be on the list. And Gran Turismo 7 is the best Gran Turismo game.
What about Triangle Strategy?
People said it was good.
Yeah. Dumb name. I always love when they do that, like Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy is like name pending, but it's just like always going to be the name of
They
it.
said, actually, we can't make good names. So it is. All right.
Well, there
So
was the Mario Rabbids game.
those are our 2022
Gotham Knights. We got to put Gotham Knights on there.
next list.
Bayonetta 3.
But we'll do 2021 after. And we'll just keep
Oh, you know what?
going
Resident Evil
down.
Village came out on Switch and Mac
Last year.
Yeah, and then the Reverse came out as well. That's why it was like fresh on my mind.
Oh yeah, Reverse. I heard it was okay, but
Sonic Frontiers.
all right.
Resident
Moving
Evil
on.
2?
What? So it's time for the fun question. And I think I've asked this one before, but fuck it.
Okay.
What game have you played the most? I'm pretty sure I've asked this before.
It'd be hard to say exactly. It'd probably be definitely a Pokemon game.
Yeah. Mine's pretty
Probably
obvious.
one of the Generation 3 Pokemon games.
Generation 3 Pokemon games.
3 or 4. I mean, I played a lot of Crystal when I first got it, but I never like beat it. 3, like Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, I really played those games. Same with Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Mostly Platinum. But like in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I played a ton of too. But it's like right between those two generations. But I have so many memories of playing Gen 4 too.
Yeah.
Like doing all the extra secret stuff because there were so many like legendaries in that game and like dungeons to explore and find.
Honestly, Pokemon could be up there for me too.
Mhm.
Like if you're counting Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald as in like one thing and collectively through my life, it's probably in the hundreds.
Because I've beaten all of them as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I played Ruby and then got Sapphire and then got Emerald, and I probably put the most time into Emerald. Maybe it's hard to say.
It's either Ruby or Emerald for me that I put the most time in.
But Dino, Diamond, and Platinum, I put a ton of time into as well. And same with Heart Gold and Soul Silver because I had the action replay with that. So it was like infinite like tomfuckery in that game.
But definitely Pokemon, one of those Pokemon games you'd say.
Yeah, it would have to be like because and then I played the GameCube one, the XD Gale Darkness, a ton. I definitely probably not as much as the handheld ones because I could take those everywhere.
Yeah.
But even then, I remember like putting the original like Gen 1 games in my SP and just like riding my bike and playing them.
Right. Dude, I did that too, and what a dangerous thing to do,
Right.
gaming while riding a bike, but I did it.
Well,
I
the
did it.
SP you could reach over.
Yeah.
And Pokemon's the easiest thing to play because you're just like
Tapping a
not
button.
really doing anything. Yeah. But yeah, I don't
Um,
know. It'd have to be Pokemon. Definitely.
yeah. It kind of disgusts me. It makes me disgusted with myself, I should
Mhm.
say. Because
Or
I
Wii
know
Sports.
Rocket League is up there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well, I guess Halo's up there now too, since I played so much of it lately.
yeah, you've played
But
like hundreds of hours of Halo.
even then, I don't think it compares because I remember like definitive like there was like one time like on Ruby version I had like 24 hours on one of my playthroughs on it. So
Yeah.
I've definitely put a ton of hours into those games collectively.
Yeah. I think Modern Warfare 2, I got up to 7 days on the 360 because it used to tell you in days, hours, and minutes that you've
Oh
played.
yeah.
And I got up to 7 days, which would be, I don't know, how much is that? 160 hours, 150, somewhere around there.
Hmm.
Um, and I've obviously replayed that game on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PC, and things like that. So it would be up there as well, probably more than Rocket League. Um, my Steam games are actually all fucked because we used to just leave the computer on. So like
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of those times are just wrong. But my initial thought was Persona 4 Golden because I know I have over 400 hours in that game. I've beaten that game like 6 times, I think 5, 6 times, and it's like a 70-hour game.
Hmm.
So, and I
Yeah, I
know,
I put a ton of time in Animal Crossing New Horizons when that came out. I think I put like almost
yeah,
200 hours into it, but I definitely is nowhere close to the most played thing.
yeah. Most games I don't put that much time into. Even with like Breath of the Wild, Zelda, I I didn't break 100 hours on that for sure. I played like 70, 60 hours in
Oh,
it.
I probably put I think I put like over 200 hours in that game.
Yeah, I was not because I play so many games, you know. I have so many games and I'm always like looking towards the next thing and looking for the next thing. So even with Tears of the Kingdom, like it's got me hooked right now, but in 2 weeks I could see myself being like, okay, I got all the shrines. I've
Hmm.
done
Oh my
quite a
god.
few side
So
quests. I'm just gonna mainline and
and
beat it.
so Halo Master Chief Collection, I put 26 days, 11 hours, and 18 minutes into it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's almost a full month straight.
Hmm.
Um,
So that could definitely be up there.
yeah, you and Roger both. Rogers would probably
Oh my
be
god, Rogers is insane. Like, I gotta look that. I gotta pull that one up.
his is probably Halo,
Yeah,
right?
definitely that or like Diablo or some shit.
Yeah. Do you think it would be a Souls game for him?
Yeah, he plays them a lot, but I don't think he plays them that much. He usually like I think he plays a lot of like Call of Duty could definitely be up there because
That's
he's got
true. Oh, like Black Ops, one of the Black Ops games. Yeah.
because he plays big into zombies and the multiplayer and stuff.
hmm Yeah, but I know in Halo he definitely had like 40 something days. I think like
Hmm.
a shitload.
Oh yeah, Halo. He's got 52 days, 4 hours, and 12 minutes just for the Master Chief Collection.
So 52 days times 24 hours.
I've almost like I'm
Yeah,
like halfway.
that's 1,248 hours.
Hmm.
I hope to God he doesn't have a game that's more than that.
And we still haven't beat it.
Yeah, and Rocket League I have 270 hours. Ugh, makes
We
me
got
sick.
one more game,
Makes me sick.
one more game to beat in Halo
One more
Master
game.
Chief Collection. And we got it. We're done.
So, all right,
It's finished. We'll finish the fight with the third one.
Jake,
Yeah,
it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast.
yeah,
The reason why we're doing it today, Monday, even though Roger's dead, that's
yeah.
fine. That
Is it
PlayStation,
Monday? I thought it was like Thursday.
it's
That's
Monday.
weird.
That PlayStation event is happening on Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock Central, one
How
o'clock
long is it?
Western.
Is it really long?
It's a little over an hour long,
Oh, I could put it on my car ride.
and this is not a state of play. They specifically said this is a PlayStation showcase
It's a
akin to
play
the
of
one
state.
back when the PS5 launched in 2021. They had that kind of like, hey, here's the games coming up type thing. That's another one of these.
Okay.
Reading this story as follows: by the time you hear this recording, the PlayStation Showcase would have probably happened by now. This Wednesday's event marks the return of an official PlayStation Showcase, not to be confused with the State of Play, since 2021. In it, there are big expectations set both by fans and PlayStation itself. Sony's Jim Ryan recently reiterated the importance of exclusives and the seemingly lack of upcoming titles for the PlayStation 5 that we know of. While we know Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 16 are coming up for this year, while other titles such as Wolverine and Stellar Blade are on the horizon, pun intended for Horizon, there isn't much else known about Sony's future releases. Naughty Dog did tweet out the concept art of the dubious Last of Us multiplayer game that we saw at the Game Awards all those years ago, and that has
I
been
can't believe it's
development
still
for
not
many
out.
years. But we don't know what a lot of Sony's other studios are currently working on. Sucker Punch is probably working on the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. Sony Santa Monica just released God of War Ragnarok, but we know Cory Barlog is heading another game there. Bend has been AFK ever since Days Gone. Jade Raymond's Haven Studio hasn't made a peep since its conception. Japan Studios' successor Team Asobi hasn't been heard of. The list goes on and on. So, I present to you, my dear co-host, what are we going to see in this showcase? Will
Spider-Man.
we hear from every studio? Is this Sony going in for the kill after a seemingly embarrassing performance on Xbox over the last 16 months?
Spider-Man. I think that's like the two biggest like we're gonna see a lot of Spider-Man and Final Fantasy. I think that's gonna be the biggest things we'll see.
You think so?
Um,
I have the complete opposite thought. I think those are going to be the smallest things we see. I think they're
really,
going to start the show with Spider-Man 2 and it'll last like 2 or 3 minutes and they're like, "Bitch, you already."
you don't think it'll be like a Triangle Strategy kind of trailer or a Xenoblade kind of trailer where they go on for like 30 minutes about how the game works and all the functions of everything in the game?
No. And the same with Final Fantasy 2 because actually today that we're recording this, Final Fantasy 16 previews dropped and people
Oh,
are
okay.
like showing footage of the game and talking about the game. So it'd be weird for them to go into
But
a deep dive of the game when all
Square
that
they like to fucking show off their game a million times.
they do, but I feel like Sony wouldn't have an event just to talk about Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 16.
Mm-hmm.
Especially an event on this caliber. Like this isn't if it was a state of play,
Soul
yeah.
Calibur.
But I mean maybe. Soul
Yeah.
Calibur 7, who knows? Every other fighting game's fucking coming
Didn't
out.
a new Soul Calibur come out for like arcades only? Like it hasn't, or like
Maybe
Tekken,
that
maybe.
that happens in Japan all the time.
Hmm.
So it's possible. But going back to these other studios, I mean, do you think we're going to see Sucker Punch or Santa Monica or Bend or Haven or
I mean, I
any of
feel like
these
it'd
other
be too
studios?
soon for like another Ghost of Tsushima kind of thing. I mean,
It's
maybe
been 3 years.
maybe like a teaser for it, but I don't know about like a full like, hey, it's coming out like next year.
Yeah, because when they showed Spider-Man off, I think that was in that 2021
Hmm.
reveal, which means that it's coming out 2 years after, and it's been 3 years since Ghost of Tsushima. So, or did it come out in 2020? Was that winter of 2020 when Ghost of Tsushima came out?
Yes, it was around the same time as Last of Us Part Two.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been 3 years, and if they showed it now and then released it in 2 years, that'd been 5 years between development. I mean, it's possible.
Because I'm pretty sure I remember playing Ghost of Tsushima on my PS5
Yeah.
and
I
not
do
the
think
PS4.
it's also important to remember that the PS5 is entering its third year, and unlike Nintendo and the Switch, this is probably around the halfway mark of the console.
Uh-huh.
So these studios, I imagine
We need to do
Sony's
something
going to
with it.
be, I think they're about to be firing on all cylinders over these next. Like, I think that's the beginning of this showcase is them being like,
Because to be honest,
yo,
like their first party stuff hasn't really been super like popping.
yeah, I think it's been quietly good, you know? Like, I
Hmm.
think God of War Ragnarok was really solid. I think
I'm surprised
Horizon,
it wasn't like bigger.
right? And that's what I'm thinking with all these. Like, Horizon Forbidden West was solid.
Hmm.
Gran Turismo 7 was solid. Even like Ratchet and Clank and things like that, where these games came out and they're really good, but they just didn't kind of have that pop. And maybe it's because I just listed a whole bunch of sequels. Like every
Yeah,
single one of those are sequels. And
Spider
they
Man,
did say, I
Final
forgot to
Fantasy.
say that Jim Ryan or whoever was tweeting about this did say that there's going to be new IP at this as well.
All right,
So
X-Men.
it wouldn't be. I don't think that type of new IP. But it wouldn't be surprising if we did see Corey Barlog's new game from
Yeah,
Santa Monica, and that's like some new IP or
Nintendo
something
crashes it, finally showing Metroid Prime 4.
that's dead in the water.
It's
Um,
not.
do you think that we're gonna see Uncharted? Because
Uh,
that rumored Uncharted game has been in development for a long time in San Diego studios.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have an expectation for whether we'd see it or not. For
Yeah,
me, the franchise is done.
yeah.
Um,
Not interested in
but
his daughter.
not really.
That's
I
fair.
mean, I'm not saying that like it can be good, but I was more interested in the character of Nathan Drake more so than just the game itself.
Yeah, I think
Like
that
his journey is very interesting.
especially with 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the earlier games, it's more about that Indiana Jones type adventure and stuff. And
Because honestly, that first game, like, it's very frustrating trying to play.
the first game is almost a PS2 game, you know. It's
Yeah,
like it's a
so I gotta
little
play
rough.
Uncharted for the gameplay.
But Uncharted 3 and 4 definitely refined that a lot and made
Mm-hmm.
it better. But do you have any expectations at all from this event?
No, not really. I expect to see Spider-Man and Final Fantasy, and that's about it. I don't really know what I could expect from Sony at this point.
Interesting.
Like, I don't know. There's nothing that's like I'm thriving for.
Yeah.
And I haven't had really anything to go to my PlayStation to play in a while. So maybe if something cool pops up. I mean, I'm gonna get Spider-Man for sure. Probably Final Fantasy, but
Do you think also that so I think the timing of this is interesting as well because Microsoft, as I said in the story, has been just, for lack of a better term, floundering
well,
with the
they
Series
already gave up
X. Halo Infinite,
publicly.
Halo Infinite was kind of a train wreck,
Hey,
and
you know,
I
it's
kind
funny
of
is
was
Halo
very
Infinite's like good now.
well. That's how it always goes,
Mm-hmm.
but
At least the
you can't.
multiplayer. I mean, they never finished the campaign, and they probably never will.
Yeah. Um. But then the whole Redfall situation, and yeah, Phil Spencer
Yeah,
coming out and basically saying, Starfield could be an
waiting on the
11 and it wouldn't
freaking
work.
white flag.
Yeah. So do you think also that this event spontaneously appearing has to do with that at all? Is this Jim Ryan
Uh,
saying, I'm going to kill Xbox now?
I don't feel like they need to kill Xbox now. I don't think that's like they at this point they even view them as a threat. And it's
I
probably
mean,
been like in the works
well,
for a lot longer than just
well,
like
they
since that
kind of
statement.
they kind of do because PlayStation has been battling them over this Activision Blizzard deal.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't do that if you didn't see them as a threat at all. So,
Well, it would they definitely become a threat if they got the that deal.
yeah.
But I think like I don't know. I don't think like Xbox has been a threat to PlayStation since the 360.
No, definitely. I saw that it was the 10-year anniversary of the Xbox One reveal
Mm-hmm.
the other day.
TV.
It just so funny.
It's all I'll be known
It's
for.
that's it literally destroyed the Xbox brand
Mm-hmm.
for the next 10 years.
They
Because
wanted to be
even
more than they
today,
were.
it's still
Yeah, I like the
suffering.
Series X. I think it's a solid console.
I think it is
I
too.
use it more than my PlayStation.
That's so funny because I never turn mine on. Mine's
Yeah.
coated in dust. But do you think if you weren't doing this Halo thing with Roger that you'd still use the Xbox more?
I don't know. I mean, like, I just use it in general to stream too. Like, I just like
No.
how the controller feels. I know the DualSense has like nice features, but I hate that D pad on it. That D pad sucks. And the controller is just ergonomically more comfortable to use on the Xbox.
Interesting. Interesting.
I mean, like not to say the DualSense, but it's definitely the best PlayStation controller.
No, I mean
Um,
it's a preference. It's
mhm.
all
And I like
preferences,
the.
but
I wish the Xbox had the features that the DualSense had, and then it'd be the best controller. Um,
give him time. Give him
right.
time.
There's this baby, you know.
Oh yeah, he's holding up the Stadia controller for you
Mm-hmm.
back home. And if you haven't heard of Stadia, it's this old ancient technology that has long been dead in
Yeah,
society.
dead in the water, gone forever.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
I don't know. It's also the controller doesn't die like every 5 minutes on the freaking Xbox as well.
it's because you put batteries in it.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's the Switch can do it. Why can't the DualSense do it? The Switch can
I
stay
mean, you're
alive.
right.
I've left my Pro controller like in a drawer for like 2 years and picked it up and still had a full
No,
charge.
yeah, it goes up to like 40 hours or something.
It's 80 hours.
Um, oh, it's 80.
Hmm.
Yeah, actually, when Susan was playing Breath of the Wild, she started. She grabbed the Pro controller that's hooked up to the dock behind the TV and was like, it was plugged in, and she was like kind of walking back with the wire. And I grabbed it and I unplugged it. I was like, just unplug it. And she's like, doesn't it need charged? I've used it a lot. I'm like, it has like 40 hours of battery. She went, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, really? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
I don't understand how PlayStation can't figure that out. Like if
well,
Nintendo can
because
figure that out, then why can't the
well,
DualSense?
I think what it is, and I think they even said this during the DualShock 4,
Hmm.
is that with the touchpad and everything in there, it just takes up more space. So they can't put that big of
Get
a
rid of the
battery in
touchpad.
there.
Like honestly, get rid of the touchpad. I don't give a shit about the touchpad.
Well, unfortunately, there's games tied to the touchpad. So from now on, there always has to be a touchpad
I
because
mean,
there's games tied to the touchpad.
just don't make the next one backwards compatible.
Yeah, well, that'd go over well. People would
I mean,
love
Xbox
that.
did it. They were like, all right,
And then what did they do? They retroactively made it backwards compatible.
it's true. They made it the best console ever. The
Uh,
PlayStation didn't do that.
it's something.
Going from 3 to the 4, they're like, fuck you.
The Xbox One is something. I'll tell you that.
I'll say, like, as far as like their backwards compatibility, like Xbox is phenomenal when it comes to backwards compatibility. The fact that you can pop in an original Xbox disc and it reads it and you download it and play it, it's incredible.
Yeah, I just don't think that I mean, we're definitely getting off the plot now, but that's
I know,
okay.
but like,
I just don't think that their backwards I don't think their catalog is even worth it.
it's not huge, but it's got like a lot of the bigger stuff and plus some like more interesting picks as well. And the cool thing is
Yeah.
you can download all of them too. Like if you don't have the disc, you can just buy it and download it
Yeah.
too.
I mean, personally, I'd argue that the PS3 is the greatest console because of all those PS1 and PS2
Oh
classics.
yeah, yeah. But they like that's what I'm saying. Like the PlayStation 4, it's great, but you can only play
Mhm.
PS4 games on it.
Yeah, which there are
And with the Xbox One, like if you have a launch Xbox One, you can still take advantage of all that
yeah.
backwards compatibility that the new console has too.
Yeah.
Plus, you can try to play the new games.
The PS4 does have a lot of good games,
No, yeah,
um as for
that's no argument there.
As for my expectations on this PlayStation event, I don't know. Like it's one of those things where I think I'm more. I don't even want to say I'm expecting more than you because I'm expecting nothing.
Hmm.
You know,
No,
this
honestly, I'm
year,
like I want to be surprised. Like I like when it comes to these events now, it's like I don't even want to like theorize and be like, oh, I could get this, we could get this, and just be disappointed or like oh,
yeah,
there it is, I knew it.
yeah, no, totally.
Mhm.
I mean, I want to. I always like looking at it from more of a like business
Mhm.
theory and being like, okay, who have we not heard about from? Because like Sony Bend, we have not
Yeah,
heard about them since Days Gone, and it's like, are they really going to take 8 years to make another game?
make Bubsy 4D.
No, maybe. I know they did say new IP,
Hmm.
and we know that Days Gone 2 isn't happening because
Yeah, it's
the
sad.
writer came out and said like they won't let us make Days Gone 2 when they fired me.
Yeah,
So, which however you feel about that, I personally think that's fine. Days
well,
Gone
it
is a
wasn't
game.
a big hit, so
Um,
I think it's just zombie stuff. It's just like it's been overdone. Like I'm
yeah,
still like in zombie fatigue from our like
2011,
yeah, like
2010,
from
yeah.
the Zombie Land era, Call of Duty Zombies, Undead Nightmare,
Walking Dead,
yeah, Walking Dead.
all of
Walking
it,
Dead
yeah.
like is what killed it for me. Like
That's
that
where
was
Dead
it was
Island
too
came in
much. Yeah,
too.
Dead
Yeah.
Island. Like I didn't even give it a chance because at that point I was like I don't know. And then it's like you have the what was the Capcom one?
I know Dead Rising.
Dead Rising. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, yeah, it was a phenomenon though, because even like Red Dead had a zombie game come out and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So,
It
um,
was like the superhero fatigue everyone's feeling now. It's just like it was zombie fatigue,
yeah, totally.
except it
But
died a lot faster.
I
I think.
wanna I wanna see their game, and I
Mhm.
think we will see it. I think it's time for them to show Days Gone, and I think we're gonna see Santa Monica's new game.
God of War.
No, and I also think we're gonna see Blue Point there too,
That'd
because
be great.
Sony owns them now, and they're doing
Mhm.
something.
I think it would be great if they went back and remade the God of War trilogy, like
Oh, that'd be great.
from the
Yeah,
ground
like
up.
the original, and but like
Mhm.
keep that. action gameplay,
Hmm.
that would be
Like,
awesome.
like make it a little bit more dynamic with the camera and stuff. It's, it's a little dated looking.
It's
The
also fixed camera
platforming is
angles
kind of
too. So
terrible.
yeah.
Um, I don't know, and like, get the new guy to come in and like redo all the voices or whatever. You can keep the original. I don't care either way, but it kind of gets some
Have a toggle.
consistency. Yeah.
So many remakes now say original audio or
Hmm.
new. So no, that'd be
One thing
so cool.
I hate in Halo is that like it has the option for new or original audio,
Hmm.
but you can only have it depending on what graphics you're playing in. You can't
So
mix and match
old
it.
audio is old graphics only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Halo 2 is awful too because the music and like old graphics is so muted. Like it's so
Yeah.
much less. It's like you can barely hear it a lot of the times, and you can't adjust the settings at all for it.
Oh, good.
It's
Fantastic.
kind of like Modern Warfare 2 remastered,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like, and then you switch to the new graphics. It's like, oh, there's the music. It's all full now. But I don't want to watch the part where the elites and the brutes are fighting because it doesn't have Breaking Benjamin in the new graphics. It's got whoever the fuck they got. Because
Yeah.
you know,
I do also want to throw this out there. So we also know that Sony has some sort of partnership with Silent Hill, and
yeah,
that
yeah.
game's happening. And then
I guess we could see that.
there have been huge, not even reports but rumors too about Konami and a remake of Metal Gear 3 Snake
What
Eater.
3? I
That's
guess
the
they
first.
already did the first one.
Well, 3 is the first in the timeline.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So I think that's why. But like people are saying Konami and PlayStation are really like getting close with each other and that this might be like the comeback of Konami. I don't know if any of that could happen. And this
I know
is
Blue Point's
also
worked on the Metal Gear franchise before.
yeah, so maybe that's what Blue Point's been doing is they're making MGS3. That could
You
be
know, I would
cool.
love to see like a remake of Twin Snakes.
Yeah. Just remake them all, honestly.
Hmm.
And finish 5
Yeah,
because it's not done. And I kind
it'll never get
and
finished.
even though I like 5 and I like the gameplay, I kind of
Mhm.
refuse to play it because I know the story's not done. And I hate games like that.
If
I
anything,
hate them.
like if they were like at this point because it's been so long, they just make Metal Gear 6.
True. I think Konami did the wrong thing but then the right thing too where they just let it die. I know they
Yeah,
did Metal Gear.
they had the multiplayer thing going on for a while, and that whole like extra story people were trying to decode and figure out.
Yeah, and I think that was the leftovers of Kojima.
Mhm.
But I know that they did that bad Metal Gear Survive game, which was
Yeah,
garbage.
they
But
tried.
they were just trying to extract money out of that engine that they fucking dumped
Hmm.
millions into. Um, but that'd be cool
They
if they
learned a
came back.
valuable lesson to not give Kojima an infinite budget.
Yeah. Um, but I even talking about that, I feel like I'm setting expectations a little too high because now we're like, oh, well, we could get this, get
Oh,
this.
Metal Gear, Metal Gear,
Um, I guess last
Sonic.
question: Bloodborne. We getting Bloodborne on PC?
I don't care. um, it'd be nice to see like Bloodborne come back in some capacity, like, maybe like a PS5
Sequel.
remaster or something,
Yeah.
sequel. But I with Elden Ring just coming out, I don't know. I guess and then they're already working on their other project, and
Yeah, I mean they're starting to
but,
do these yearly releases honestly over there
mhm.
from software. So Elden Ring did just come out, but
Well, they have
Armored Core
Armored
comes
Core.
out in August,
Yeah,
which I don't think that they would cannibalize Armored Core by showing off a new Souls game right before it because people would
yeah.
just get excited for
The other
that
thing I
instead.
think it was maybe Blue Point did something with it, like
Yeah,
they did with Demon Souls.
yeah, that would be cool. That
Hmm.
makes sense too because they already kind of have that connection and things like that.
Yeah,
So, uh, what about Team Asobi? What was that? What was that one game that came out? The launch free game with the PS5?
it was Astrobot.
Astrobot, yeah. So we know that Japan Studio, they say downsized. They killed Japan Studio and made Team Asobi out of it, and
Hmm.
they're making an Astrobot game. Do you think we'll see that?
Um, I'm not
Because
sure. We might see like pieces or like maybe like a trailer or something, like nothing like gameplay wise,
yeah, maybe that's a little
or at
teaser.
least like an announcement or something.
Because I think we are going to see a lot of like
I think we'll see a lot of
teasers.
VR stuff.
Yeah, they did say that PSVR 2 is going to have a presence here, and
Hmm.
which as
It's out now,
someone,
right?
oh yeah, it's been out for months.
Oh, okay.
And that I think that right there encapsulates the problem with PSVR 2 is that it
Hmm.
came out, it's $600.
I think it is the VR buzz has also kind of died. I'm not saying like it's a fad or should be a fad, But
But
it's definitely, I don't think enough was done with it to make it more than it a
yeah,
fad.
no,
Hmm.
I agree because I think that the technology for VR, because we were both in that
Hmm.
buzz. I mean, I think we own 3 headsets still. It's but at one
I
point,
have two. Yeah,
we had so
I have the
many.
PSVR and I have the Quest 2.
Yeah, and if this PSVR 2 came out 4 years ago, I'd probably have it by now. But it's the thing where I think the technology for VR kept getting better, and I've heard PSVR 2 is phenomenal.
Hmm.
Like it looks great, the field of view is great, like it doesn't hurt your head at all. Like I heard it's a really good headset. But my problem is the best game on it is some fucking knockoff Horizon game.
Yeah.
And I'm like I don't and I also want to give credit also where I've heard like Gran Turismo 7's VR mode in it is amazing. So and that is a full game.
Hmm.
But you're gonna have to sell me more, and maybe this showcase will do it. But you can't be like, "Hey, this game you already own has a VR mode," and then here's this not even
See,
close
I
to
need
a
more than
full
just a
experience.
VR mode, like, because that's what a lot of this is. It's like even Astrobot. It's just like, you're playing the game, but like, oh, it's I'm there. I guess it's a
Yeah,
platformer. You're not in first person, and that's
yeah,
like the draw to VR.
it's something that you could
Um,
easily play on your couch.
mhm. And like, I just want like more experiences, like the Iron Man game. Like, I don't know, I can't remember if that people like that one or not. I got it and I never played it
No,
because
people liked it. I played a little bit of it. I
like
liked
it
it.
needs more games that are dedicated to it.
Yeah, totally. And I also think that
Not just like, hey, it's Resident Evil 8, but in VR.
the price needs to come down too, though. It
Because if
can't
I'm
be.
paying that much, it's got to have a killer app of something. I don't want just anything I can get on any other platform. Like, I have the Quest 2, I can play Beat Saber on that. You
Yeah,
know,
I'm not buying Beat Saber again. I refuse.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
bought it 3 or 4 times. I'm done.
I bought it
Um,
once. I will stand by. Like, I've cracked with the Quest 2. I didn't buy it on PSVR because I didn't like the tracking.
the Move controllers,
Hmm.
yeah, there was something, and the new VR2 has real controllers
Hmm.
like Oculus Quest controllers.
They look
So,
like PS3 controllers, like
um,
the prototype ones.
yeah, it kind of does.
Hmm.
Other than that, though, it's just like I don't know what they're gonna do with VR, but I'm excited to see how. I don't want them to go too much into it because it's an hour long. They said it's a
Hmm.
little over an hour showcase, and I'd rather see a lot of PS5 games than PSVR2 games.
But that's
But
their new platform, so they're gonna try and push that a lot.
exactly, yeah, it's like they just launched it, and I think it was one of those things also where
That could be where we see our next Astrobot game is PSVR 2. That's
man,
probably what they're doing
that
it
would
with.
suck so hard
Hmm.
because Astrobot on PS5 was fantastic.
Hmm.
That was a phenomenal game.
Honestly, Astrobot is like the perfect little character to be their mascot.
He really is.
Hmm.
He encompasses PlayStation so well.
Yeah,
Um,
even the
but
look of him, he looks like a PS5,
yeah, we'll see though. We'll see.
or actually looks like a PSVR. So he looks like.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all I have for that.
Okay.
We will definitely do a roundup. Probably just be me and Roger because you'll be gone. We
Hmm.
can't get you guys together anymore.
No.
But we'll do a roundup on that. Me and Roger, maybe Friday, honestly, because I'm going to be gone for Memorial Weekend. I'm going to go see the parent-in-laws.
Oh,
So
cool. I'm going to see my dad
yeah,
and
yeah.
stepmom.
So can't really do a podcast down there.
No.
So all right. The other thing I have, Jake, is just
Remember when I would pack up my like mic and take it with me when I went places so I could
dude.
still
I
do the
did that too.
podcast?
I
Yeah.
remember doing that, going to like Florida and stuff,
Hmm.
which I would do that on this trip. Honest to God, I would. But they're smokers and they're
Yeah.
indoor smokers, and I don't want
You
all
know, all
my
your stuff.
equipment. I don't
Yeah,
want all my
I
stuff.
wouldn't even bring anything, like any of my stuff.
I pack light when I go
Yeah.
there. Pack very light. So, all
It
right.
sucks because you're probably gonna want to play Zelda and you don't want your Switch to get all smoky.
I'll bring my Switch.
Yeah.
It eventually smells fine. You give it a few weeks, it smells fine.
Hmm.
But it's definitely like this very distinct smell. Whenever Susan would go by herself and then come back, I'd be like, I can smell you. And you burn my eyes. Um we're gonna talk about Tears of the Kingdom though.
All right.
That's our second topic and our final topic of today. And like I said at the beginning of the show, don't really, we're in different parts. We've seen different things. We've experienced different things. So I want to keep spoilers
Can
kind
fly
of
now.
to a minimum. No story spoilers, obviously. Just kind of general impressions. It's been a week. The hype is still at fever pitch, it feels like, which is
Oh
crazy
yeah,
because usually with a game when it comes out, people play it for a few days and then it kind of dies down. I feel like the longer this goes, the bigger it gets. Every day
it's
I get on
it's
Twitter, I just see more and more fucking insane shit.
it's Breath of the Wild all over again.
It is,
Like
but like
they recaptured the like mystique all
zeitgeist,
over again.
yeah.
Like even like even though it's the same world, it's completely different.
Yeah, totally. So like general impressions, how are you feeling about it? Is this your game of the year? Is this the greatest
I
game of all time? Like, how do you feel?
I always hesitate to say the greatest game of all time. Like because I mean like it's growing up like it was always like Ocarina of Time, greatest game of all time. It's like well
Yeah.
this is better than Ocarina of Time. I think at least like in some aspects.
Yeah, and that's the problem too, is
Because
because I am
I love Ocarina of Time, but it's very dated.
yeah,
Not just visually, but like
Mhm.
mechanically.
And I am one of those people that still to this day stands and it's funny too because I'm kind of leaning more on the side of A Link to the Past is the greatest game of all time because that
Honestly,
is just
it's great.
Ocarina of Time, but
But
2D,
yeah, honestly, like
and
it took
it'll never
forever to
get
convince you that too, because I was like, it's just Link to the Past in 3D, and it's
it,
like it literally is.
and
Like and then
it'll
you,
and it'll never really be dated because it kind
Mhm.
of perfected the formula in SNES.
That's the
But
thing. Like SNES games, timeless.
oh yeah,
NES not so much. N64 not so much. GameCube is pretty timeless too.
it's somehow GameCube
Mhm.
has stood the test of time.
It's
They
got a
did
very
something.
unique look to 3D because it wasn't quite realistic, but they knew they couldn't pull that off yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So but then they like everything after that. It was like, oh, we could do real faces, and it's like, they look
It's
hideous.
like, you
They're
probably shouldn't have
monsters.
done that.
Yeah, look at
Uh
Grand Theft Auto 4. My God.
no, but I do think A Link to the Past, obviously. Well, talking about the SNES, the Super
Hmm.
Nintendo has just. You were talking about Mario RPG, or yeah, Mario
Yeah,
RPG
RPG. Yeah.
earlier.
Hmm.
I think Final Fantasy 4 and 6 are on there.
Hmm.
Chrono
Or
Trigger's
two
on
and three
there.
if you're a real G.
2 and
Um,
3 if you're from America.
uh,
You got Link to the Past, which again, arguably is one of the greatest games. Like,
Mario World is I would
oh
say
yeah,
is
Super Mario
definitively the
World.
best Mario game,
I think so
like
too.
easily.
I,
It's
I
always a toss up between 3 and World, but I just think, but yeah, it always comes back to World.
I think the aesthetic of World gives it the edge.
Hmm.
That extra boost with the music and with the graphics and stuff just
And
puts
it's
it
very
over.
smooth too, because Mario 3 really pushed the NES and kind of like it even did things it shouldn't have been able to do. Like
Yeah.
it broke like they broke some rules to make that game work on the NES, like with
Hmm.
scrolling and stuff like that. But it's just an overall smoother experience on World because the levels are really tiny in Mario
Yeah.
3 as well.
Yeah, totally. But there is still that soft spot, and we're talking about Tears of the Kingdom, but
Yeah,
going
going to
going
Mario 3.
going to Ocarina of Time for a second,
Hmm.
eh, it shouldn't be a surprise because I was kind of the resident, quote, Breath of the Wild hater, end quote.
Hmm.
And I even said on the podcast leading up to Tears of the Kingdom release that I kind of rediscovered Breath of the Wild and I kind of found a new way to play it. And I started appreciating it a lot more. But I still think, even with Tears of the Kingdom, and I am loving this game. And it's funny because I don't even want to say that I'm loving this game, but I am. I mean, it's true. I'm having fun with this game. I'm doing so many stupid things. Like last night, I was trying to get this Korok over to an island because you have to like get your little friend over, and
Hmm.
most of the time you just carry him over, but that's no fun. So I was like, okay, the island's pretty far. I'm gonna make a rocket. So I knocked the tree down, got the stump, stuck 2 rockets to the side of it, stuck a fan on the back, and then put like a little controller, and then I glued them to the front. I'm like, okay, we're gonna blast off and fucking fly all the way to this island. I get my sword out, I do a down slash, the log explodes, the rockets go beep beep shoot, it hits the Korok and just launches him. And I never saw him again. And I was like, that was the funniest shit I've ever seen.
He's
But then
dead.
but then I reloaded, came back, did it again, and it launched off. The log fell into the water. I fell off. It bobbed out because it's buoyant. Floated. I got on it. Started driving it. It worked. It turned into a boat. I made a rocket that turned into a boat when we got to the island. And I was like, that is fucking cool that I
I
can do
love
that.
that. No, yeah,
Um,
it's just like the amount of creativity you have in this game is like insane. Like,
no,
because
absolutely.
everyone's gonna be doing stuff differently, like
Hmm.
completely. Um,
And the more that I play it too, the more creative I'm getting as well. I've learned because at the
mhm,
beginning I was an idiot. I'm like, I don't know how to play this. I'm not
mhm.
creative.
I
But
mean, I didn't start like putting weapons together other than like putting rocks on them for
right,
like way too long because
yeah,
I had all
same.
these like monster parts and I was like, oh wait, this kind of looks like a sword, doesn't it? That's what they want me to do, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, this makes the game better.
Yeah,
Gives me a good weapon.
it's like I remember it's like when I started the game, it's like, oh yeah, remember you guys didn't like it durability, well, it made it worse.
Mm, mm.
It
But
made
actually,
durability worse.
we kind of made it better too because
Yeah.
we made them even more durable now. But only
Hmm.
if you do this thing. But and it's too early to even say anything definitive because I've only beaten one temple, which
Hmm.
spoilers, dungeons are back,
Yeah,
and they even say like water temple on them.
it's great.
Uh, it's so
I saw the word temple pop on screen. I was like, yay.
it's great. And I think this is also where maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I should just enjoy the moment. But then I think about people like Susan who don't have any nostalgia at all. Like, how are they going to feel about this? And I'm like, okay, you got to be kind of like grade everything on its own. And the things that Breath of the Wild got right and that made me excited were just kind of like nostalgia bait things.
Hmm.
And if you took that stuff out, Breath of the Wild is a fun open world that's really good at discovery, but that's about it. Tears of the Kingdom is a fun open world that has a lot to do and it's super engaging, but I feel like it's still at this point, and I've heard that the dungeons get better. I've heard that the ending is great. I don't know
Hmm.
anything about it, but playing the Water Temple, I beat that thing in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
I
that's
was
that's how it
like,
was in Breath of the Wild too. Like the water and the sky were the easiest compared
yeah.
to the rest of it.
And I'm just thinking, like, I don't even think I beat the Great Deku Tree in 10 minutes
Hmm.
in Ocarina of Time, you know? Like,
I would
it
say
was the
you'll love the
easiest
Desert
thing.
Temple. Like
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed exploring that one because at first I thought I kind of got flow. I was like, oh, is this going to be like, is this it? Like,
Yeah.
is it? Am I going to be done right here? Like, and then it was like, oh no, here's like a whole like thing. Like you have like this whole pyramid to explore. I was like, oh, thank
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
um, and I'm just now getting to the Death Mountain, which I've kind of took a sabbatical from that just to kind of explore the map more because I don't know. I feel like I need to do that and then go back to exploring just because I already
Yeah.
started it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
I do like the side
I'm yet
quests.
to get to that. I saved the water one for last, so I guess that'll be kind of anticlimactic. So
Sorry. Well,
yeah,
do you know how many dungeons are in this game?
um, I'm assuming there's more than just the four.
There's more than four. I'll just let
Yeah,
you know that. Yeah, there's more than four.
because I know from story that there is going to have to be more than four
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because I've collected like all the dragon tears, which give
Yeah.
you all the flashbacks, and
I've collected
so
two.
yeah, I painstakingly went in order because I don't know if they show you the story in order just based on like collecting them or
They
if each
don't.
one has a set cutscene.
The first one I got was like number 6.
Yeah,
And I was like, all right.
and
It
there
was
are
interesting.
like there are some like even if you get all the tiers, there are still gaps in them. So I think there's a more story you get throughout the gameplay that connects those bridges right there. So maybe I should
Yeah.
have like gotten to a certain point and stopped and then got more story
Yeah.
and then went back to getting them. But I pretty much seen all the stuff that happens in the past.
Yeah.
Or I guess honestly probably all the important beats that happens in the past. So
Yeah.
I know there has to be more than four temples.
Definitely. I wanna make like judgment statements right now, but I know it's just too
Mhm.
early. I can't be like, ah, Ocarina of Time's better because I've barely scraped the surface of Tears of the Kingdom.
I
So
like Ocarina of Time more because there's the forest temple with the pose with the torches, and that's so much fun.
I will present an argument though
Hmm.
in defense of those older games, even though they might be dated. And this is something that I've kind of felt overall. We talk about $70 for a game now and
Hmm.
how games are so fucking expensive because they're so detailed and they're so like, full of content, things like that. I think that this is maybe a fad because I really think we're missing out on the simplicity of older games. I
Hmm.
think Ocarina of Time, well into the 20 teens, and a lot of people still to this day consider it the greatest game, but more people are being like, well, it's getting kind of old. um but I think the simplicity in its design also kind of like gave it that like this is the greatest game because
Hmm.
regardless of what Tears of the Kingdom does, no matter how much content it puts in its game, it inherently will always have a pacing problem.
Yeah.
Always. Because you're always going to get distracted. You're always going to forget what happened in the story. You're going to be like me. You're going to get the seventh tier
Well,
memory right away.
that's why they let you go back and watch all the cutscenes
It's
whenever you
true,
want.
yeah, and I'm gonna do that. Once I find them
Hmm.
all, I'm gonna watch them in order because I want to get that. But then the problem becomes I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna want to mainline the story, and that's why
Hmm.
I'm kind of trying to do as psychotic as it sounds. I want to do all the side content first, and then
Yeah.
do the story. You know, all 140 shrines or whatever.
You have fucking buffed up Link, like just ready to
Oh
smack
yeah,
Ganon in one hit.
definitely. But I feel like the game is more fun that way. And
Hmm.
you can argue too, like, well, doesn't that make the game great? Because you get to choose the pacing. If you wanted to just mainline the dungeons and stuff, you could.
Hmm.
Or if you wanted to do everything and then mainline the story, you could too. I get that argument, but I
But
do
you know,
think
I do think too, like with the Ocarina of Time, like you can do all of that and still not get like the pacing feels fine. Like you can go and do side quests and go get heart pieces and stuff, but you never really lose that pacing.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Even when you're literally traveling back in time and forward in time, it's like
Yeah.
it still feels like the pacing is well enough in
Hmm.
that game. Um, even yeah, and talking about the
I
side
would say
quests and
Twilight
things like that.
Princess is
So
probably a perfect Zelda game.
yeah, and I
Hmm.
need to go back and uh, play that again because it's just
I
like,
will say
oh,
like
it's grabbing me so much.
the tears, the little like soul do things were not the best, but other than that,
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good.
getting the tears for
Hmm.
the to get rid of the Twilight. Yeah,
Yeah. I remember like it's like just the beginning part. I don't think they do that much later. I think it's just like a beginning thing.
I think you
But
do it
after
four
that it's
times.
like
You
done.
do it
Yeah,
four
yeah.
times. Yeah,
And it's like done and it's like, oh okay, good. This is over with.
they said this is the gameplay mechanic, and we're just gonna we need more wolf parts.
Yeah.
What is it?
But
What can a wolf do? The fighting's not that good. I haven't collect
honestly
tears
the Wii U version is the best way to play it.
as of now. Give me the Switch version.
It
Do it.
just even though with the Wii U it's great because it has a button to make you Wolf Link. You don't have to go to menu. It's just right
Yeah,
there on the touchscreen. Boom, Wolf Link. Great. Um
I'm gonna play
But
Twilight
I
Princess
will
now.
say, like, yeah, talking about like how you say everything's going like open world. I feel like a lot of people feel that like a linear gameplay style is a limitation now rather than a
Right,
design, just inherent design.
right.
Because like even Halo went open world. It's like that's not a game that needs to be open world. Like it's
And
really weird.
and unfortunately, Nintendo is a trendsetter, and typically the industry will see what Nintendo does and then copy it.
Well, yeah, that's what like, happened with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
It's like
so
everything went
now
open world.
get ready because every game is going to be even more open world,
Hmm.
twice as big open world, and it's going to have crafting.
Oh my god!
So,
I'll bet you Spider-Man 2 is gonna have like the crafting for
oh,
the abilities
probably
instead of just waiting for him to recharge.
you have to collect some shit to make more webs or
Hmm.
something that would just recharge. And then, dude, Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft is the worst at that shit too
Hmm.
because they will to a T copy it in the worst way possible.
And they're always late.
Yeah, and
Always really late.
it'll just be shit. So excited for that, but
Hmm.
I do think,
And then that Suicide Squad game is gonna be open world. I know that.
yeah, yeah, it's just so sad because yeah, all these companies are chasing these trends and trying to get like the next Breath of the Wild to sell 30
Mhm.
million copies.
I mean, that's what we saw with Fortnite. You know,
Eh,
everything became battle royale.
yeah,
That and
yeah,
PUBG.
but if these and it's led to longer development times too. Every game takes 5 years now to make every single one.
Hmm.
And if you remember back in the day when Mass Effect 1 released, Mass Effect 3 was out within 5 years.
Hmm.
Like it took 5 years for a
We
trilogy.
get yeah, like we got that on a single console.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But now it takes multiple console generations to
But
finish a trilogy.
to be fair, with Nintendo at least, like they usually only released one title in their franchises per console.
Yeah, and when I'm talking about this, ironically, I'm not talking about Nintendo because
Hmm.
I think Nintendo are one of the last saving graces where they still Kirby is an open world. You know,
Yeah,
Kirby is still Kirby, and Metroid is still Metroid, and Yoshi's still Yoshi. For better or for worse, and they do obviously experiment with Zelda. Like they're
hmm,
way big departure. You play Skyward Sword and then play Breath of the Wild, huge departure.
but there are like hints of like things to come from
Yeah,
Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild. Like
totally.
you can see those seeds of like what they were thinking when they moved from that game to the next.
And even then too, I bitch and complain
Stamina
about
wheel.
how Breath of the Wild has killed Zelda in some way,
Hmm.
we did still get um
Yeah, Link's
A
Awakening.
Link's Awakening,
Hmm.
and then we
That's
have
great. I
gotten
wish we could get like the Game Boy Color games in that same style, same
and
engine.
and
Just reuse that aesthetic
and I'm
because it.
hoping that's what they keep doing, because now on the Switch with Tears of the Kingdom, that we do have three mainline Zelda games, mainlines and remake, whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
the
and then
Skyward
those
Sword.
Warriors games too
Hmm.
came out.
I
So
need to get the Age of Calamity. I never played that one.
yeah, it's good. I mean, if you like
Mhm.
Warriors games, I like Warriors games. So,
Yeah, I mostly want to play it for the story.
but it is like Nintendo's able to a degree keep that balance, where I feel like the rest of the gaming industry, we're just talking about Sony,
Hmm.
and every single game we were talking about, like we were talking about Bend and Days Gone. Days Gone was 4 years ago. Ghost of Tsushima 3 years ago. Uh, God of War Ragnarok took 5 6 years. Spider Man took 6 years
And
for
I
the
think
sequel.
a lot of development time was inflated because of COVID as
Of
well.
course, yeah.
I think we'll get back to probably shorter development times for some things, but not. I think 5 years is not an unrealistic expectation for games now.
I hope. I just want them to tone them
Well,
down.
I think the games need to be less ambitious as well, and need to like
Definitely.
they need to pencil like and figure out what is going to be like definitively in their game at the start of development,
Yeah.
instead of like just being like, oh, but they do this and just basically added a whole
We
extra
p-
year of
we
development because
played
of
we
that.
played Tears of the Kingdom. We're like, this is great. We're gonna put it in our game. Added 2 years.
Mhm. Well, there was the whole thing. Like, I was reading something. Apparently, the is it Aonuma or
Yeah.
who's is he's in charge of Zelda?
AGL Numa. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's the whole ascend ability happened because in debug he would use it to exit caves really fast, and he was like, oh, that'd be kind of neat to put that in. And I bet you that caused a whole extra thing of development just to make it like work
Yeah.
as a feature that isn't like debuggy.
You know what though?
Hmm.
I'll give Nintendo credit
Hmm.
when it comes to Tears of the Kingdom. I read recently. I don't remember. It was Miyamoto or someone. Maybe it was on Numa. But I read that they said that Tears of the Kingdom was done a year ago.
Yeah.
It was done, and when they delayed it to this year, that was all for like cleanup,
Hmm.
polish, bug fixing, and things. Good on them. Good on them for doing that, because
Yeah.
that's another thing with all these new games coming out. They're
I'll
all
fix it in
fucking
post.
broken. They're fix it in
Hmm.
post. They're
Hmm.
all broken. Now, don't get me wrong. Tears of the Kingdom has issues. The
It's not
frame
nothing
rate
broken though. Yeah.
is, yeah, it's not broken. It's some areas are borderline unplayable,
Hmm.
but for the most part, the frame rate is, if not consistent, doable, especially for being on Switch.
Hmm.
But it's not
I
broken.
honestly genuinely thought they pushed back the release to this year to have it coincide with a console launch, just like
Mm-mm.
with the last one.
No, apparently it was for just cleaning it up,
Hmm.
and which, good on them. Ubisoft wouldn't fucking do that.
No,
Not a snowball's chance in hell.
the game hasn't even gone gold and it's on the shelf.
The rest of the game's in the patch, Cyberpunk. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I'm interested if me and Roger do the podcast on Friday talking about the PlayStation event. I probably won't be that much farther, but who knows? Maybe we'll have another 30 fucking hours in the game by then.
Right. I
Um,
know my your guys are probably gonna have your chance to catch up on my vacation,
Maybe we'll see, but
but
it is fun, which
mhm.
isn't anything groundbreaking. Everyone's saying this game's
If it's
fun.
not fun, why bother?
Why bother? Uh,
Honestly, Nintendo's greatest philosophy. That was one of the greatest quotes for gaming ever, right there. It's
yeah.
not fun, why bother?
And I feel like they do more or less stick to that.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm excited for PlayStation's announcements. I'm also excited for a new Nintendo Direct,
Yeah.
because I don't
Is there a new
think.
one coming out, or is it just
Well, I mean, there's no rumors or anything, but I don't think they're done yet. I
no?
don't think this is the swan song, and I don't want to get overzealous. I know that they said that their next console wouldn't be this fiscal year, which means that the next console won't come out until April of next year at the earliest,
Hmm.
which probably even then it won't.
I really hope that the next console is kind of like how the DS to the DSi to the 3DS was. Like you can
Yeah.
still play the Switch games,
Yeah.
but it has its own games that can't
No,
fit in the
definitely.
Switch. And I think the perfect, I keep talking about this too. I know I've said it to multiple chats or settings,
That's
but
okay.
I think it'd be great to have like a dedicated console that could play the exact same games as a handheld that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And but the saves on the freaking cartridge, not the console, please.
Yeah.
Um, and you can just like the handheld is less powerful, but
Mm-hmm.
the home console is like the powerhouse. That's the one they're going to be making it for.
Yeah.
I don't expect anything Nintendo to make to compete with the PS5 or Series X or even the next thing.
It
But it would be
needs
nice if it could at least was comparable.
it needs to be as good as the Steam Deck, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said this to you guys in a chat like a week ago or something. I was like, the Steam Deck is running on 2 to 3 year old technology already,
Mm-hmm.
and there's already consoles like the Asus, whatever it's called.
Yeah, that was a April Fool's joke, but then it wasn't. Then it was, but then it actually exists.
Yeah, and
That
it's
was
more,
so weird.
but like Steam Deck competitors are coming out that are more powerful than the Steam Deck.
But that's the
And
thing. That's the thing is the price point,
no, you're
because
right.
that's the big thing with that Asus one is like, what's it going to cost?
It's
It's
six
not going to
hundred
be cheap.
dollars.
It's not going
Yeah.
to be cheaper than the Steam Deck.
No,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the Steam Deck also gives an argument, and which you could also give the argument
The
Steam
same
Deck
thing with
doesn't
like the
have Zelda.
Quest. The Oculus Quest may not be the best one on the market,
It's
but it's
cheapest.
affordable
Yeah.
and it plays it well, and it doesn't feel like you're getting a cheapened experience.
No, definitely. When you were describing that home console thing, I just kept thinking
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation Vita, baby.
I know
They
that's
did it.
like
They did it.
it kind of did it.
It
It kind
no,
of did it.
it did. Like games with MLB the Show
Mm-hmm.
that were on console and on Vita, you just
Mm-hmm.
transferred your save and you kept playing.
Yeah.
It was there. Like,
But it needs to be more seamless. I feel like it's
well,
gonna work.
yeah, that was 2011. You
Yeah,
know,
it'll never happen. But I would love the Wii U kind of style gameplay to be able to come back, or you have a dual screen experience between like if you could had the the handheld, you could
Mhm.
link it up and it would have like that dual screen experience there.
Yeah.
Because there are certain games like Twilight Princess, which was just or Wind Waker, which was so much fun to be able to navigate your menus with on the fly. Like it made the
Yeah.
gameplay so seamless.
Now, I'm just gonna throw you a random fucking curveball.
Okay.
So
No more
Nintendo, we talk about how like they're weird, right? Like, oh, they're
Mhm.
always doing weird things. If you think about it, though, they only really started that with the Wii, and then
Well, I
the
was gonna
Wii
say,
U, and
I
then the
feel like,
Switch.
why am I blanking on his name?
So I was about to say that was all under Iwata.
Yeah, Iwata. I feel like now that Iwata's gone, they'll kind of go back to just being more traditional.
That's what I was gonna say. Do you
Was the
think?
GameCube under him as well?
It
Because
might
GameCube
have.
was different. I mean, they always never they were always kind of weird about like
Hey, they had the mini discs.
adopting CDs and
Yeah.
DVD and stuff like that because of piracy. But now, I wish I think the cartridges are kind of a hindrance to them as well for the Switch. But how else are you going to do it?
Digital only.
It's not gonna that's not gonna fly. I feel like Nintendo especially doesn't like digital over physical,
I think if
but that might
Nintendo,
change.
I think if Nintendo released a 1 terabyte Switch that was digital only,
Hmm.
and then released Tears of the Kingdom 2, it would sell 30 million copies.
But the thing is, like Nintendo is such like it's still a toy company at heart. It feels like because they love their collector's editions and
I don't.
like the
Well,
Amiibo shit
I
and
don't
all
think it
that.
is anymore. All that
Mhm.
stuff's dying out.
Hmm.
You look at Nintendo over the last, because you also have to remember, like when Iwata passed away, God rest his soul, bless his soul,
Hmm.
and everything that happened over the next 5 years, like they already had the next Switch and R&D and like starting to be conceptualized when the Switch came out in
Hmm.
2017. So when they're releasing amiibos in 2019, those were designed in 2016 and things like that, or they were planned for it, because you got to like talk to like manufacturers and you got to get licensing and you got to get patents and stuff and you got to
Hmm.
get the molds ready and you got to who's going to provide the chips
Honestly,
and
it's
things like
amazing
that.
Amiibo are still coming out.
No, it is, but like
Mhm.
it's undoubtedly, obviously, everyone buys all the amiibos, so they're not a big craze anymore. But they have slowed way down too, and they're
Like
not
last time I went to
doing.
GameStop, there were so many freaking Skyloft or Loftwing amiibo. Like it was like a whole wall of them. I was like, oh my god,
um,
this is hard to get when it came out.
I know that Mario Kart thing came out a couple years ago, which I feel like that was the last one. But they've ditched Labo, they've kind of ditched amiibo, like all
The
that.
Labo was more of like just a proof of concept kind of thing, anyways.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of like what Nintendo was, is a proof
Hmm.
of concept thing. Like since 2006, that's all they've been.
Yeah.
But that stuff has really slowed down in the last couple of years, and it could be because of COVID, of
Hmm.
course. COVID has thrown everything off, and now every speculation can't be looked at the last 3 years because that was such an outlier. And maybe Nintendo is still that toy company, and they just gotta, the factories just opened up a year ago, and
Hmm.
you gotta sort all this stuff out now, and you gotta be like, okay, what's the next big thing? What are we gonna do now? What are we gonna make? We're gonna scrap these ideas because they're old. That in 2021 they would have been great, but now they won't come out till 2024. We can't do that anymore. Who knows? Um, but I am wondering if there's going to be some sort of cultural. Well, I mean, I already think there is some sort of cultural shift now that Reggie's gone, Iwata's gone,
Hmm.
Miyamoto's
We
more in
got
this
Bowser.
senior state. Yeah, Bowser's in charge.
Honestly, I think like I have a lot of respect for Miyamoto, but I feel like he's made a lot of calls over the years that's been a big hindrance to Nintendo.
I think he's made a lot of calls that get publicly broadcasted, but he's in charge of so many things, and he's in charge of
Hmm.
he's like his oversight from what I know or from what I've read is that he oversights a lot of Nintendo. Like he's
Yeah.
kind of the godfather there. So he's made some mistakes, and you can like argue like, well, he held some things back. But also the Switch is like the third highest selling console of all time.
Hmm. And
And
not to say like he
you gotta
doesn't
give credit where
like,
credit's due too.
but I feel like it's also why a lot of like Nintendo properties have kind of stagnated over the years. As far like Zelda is a like big outlier as far as thing, but like Mario, even Odyssey with it being big, it still just felt like Mario. Like back in the
Yeah.
GameCube, like I think he was less hands on during like the N64 GameCube era, and they
Yeah.
got like weird. They did new things, they added new characters to stuff, but now it's just been like it's your Mario, the standard Mario cast. No new characters can be added. No new designs can be changed. Like you can't have Mario with the sleeves rolled
Well,
up.
that's not
Egad doesn't
true.
no more Egad, no more Piantas or anything.
I don't think that's what makes a Mario game good, though.
No, but I mean, like they're less like visually interesting. They all kind of like, especially New Super Mario Brothers. Like they like I could not tell you one was a different game if you laid them all in front of me and
Yeah,
like just set them side by side. Like
but
they all look exactly the same. They all have the
I
exact same enemies, all exact same power ups.
I think you are discrediting Mario Odyssey though for
Hmm.
what it did. But the concept of all the moons and stuff instead of like shine sprites and stars,
Yeah.
the idea of hey, you're in this one level, and when you get a thing, you're still in the level and you can keep going. It's pretty clever. And then they did do that 3D World DLC too,
Yeah, the Bowser's Fury.
which
Hmm.
that really kind of reinvented how a Mario game can be played.
Hmm.
So while yes, he was doing those other things, and like all the new Super Mario Bros. Games, which we can be sick of them too. I pretty sure they're some of the highest selling Mario games.
No,
That's
no,
why they
not to
kept
say they're
making
bad
them.
games. I don't think any of them are bad games either.
No, but
It's
they
just
kept,
there's less. I don't know. Like you used to be able to see like every game was kind of visually distinct
yeah,
and it had its own identity, and now it seems like that's less of focus for Nintendo to kind of
yeah.
have its own thing for every
Same thing can be
game.
said by Zelda though, and that's
Hmm.
actually something that I don't like about Tears of the Kingdom is that it's Breath of the Wild. It is
Yeah,
the
and, like
same
all the
exact
sound effects are the same.
the
Like the
music.
menu, the music is mostly the same.
Hmm.
Um, like for 90% of it, except for the new stuff, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like just navigating the menus and it's like the same like sounds and everything is kind of lame because I don't even think Majora's Mask used a lot of the same sound effects between Ocarina of Time and I mean, as far as like menu navigation and stuff like that.
It did.
It did.
A lot of it was Ocarina still.
Hmm.
Like when you open the like top menu and stuff and moved around it, pretty sure it was like the exact same.
Okay.
Um, but there's obviously a lot of new things too, a lot of
Hmm.
horrifying things in
All the
that
music
game.
was different in that game too.
Oh yeah. I think this also goes to, and
And that's I guess before we move on, that's another thing I've kind of like is sad about Zelda. Like ever since like even kind of even the 2D ones, like Link to the Past and
mhm,
the stuff. They were just a big music presence in it, like a musical instrument kind of presence, and like you're involved musically in the context of the game. But
not Breath
it's
of the
like
Wild.
not Breath of the Wild, not really even Skyward Sword. Um,
She had her harp.
yeah, that's true. So yeah, the harp.
It was something.
But yeah, it's just like that's not like a thing anymore.
Yeah. I understand, like, if you had to play fucking Ocarina to teleport every time in Breath of the Wild, that get really tedious really fast.
Yeah, but they could like make
But
it work in some
you could do
way.
something, yeah.
Hmm.
Have it where every time you teleport, fucking do 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 do.
Because I think Twilight Princess did it really well with the howling.
Yeah, yeah. That was
And
cool.
like they had like the what was it, the little like reeds you could blow into to summon like the
Mhm.
eagle and stuff.
Mhm. And your horse, yeah.
Hmm.
No,
No, it
super cool.
was
I
better
was
than whistling.
I was gonna say that I think something can also be said about talking about the game industry as a whole again too. We always know that Nintendo is kind of 5 to 10 years behind when
Hmm.
it comes to like power and stuff like that. And I'm just gonna use PlayStation as an example because I don't know Xbox that well from like the original Xbox and even 360, especially Xbox One. So I'm just gonna use PlayStation. But if you look at PS1 games and then look at PS2 games and then look at PS3 games, they're all very distinctly different. They tried
Yeah.
a lot of different art styles, even games that are in the same series.
Hmm.
They kind of look different, or they went for something different because they had to accommodate to like the limitations of the console. And you're like, okay, well, what can we do that's interesting with the limitations of the console?
Hmm.
So you're always trying different things and you're seeing what works, what doesn't work, things like that. But then you get to the PS4 era and things start looking either realistic or anime.
Yeah.
And now in PS5, things look realistic or anime. And there's not
Yeah.
really anything in
There's not a
between.
jump in like. Like if you show me a PS5 game or something, like I can't really tell you the difference between generations anymore.
Yeah. I mean,
I can
there's
tell you if a game runs better.
I think it depends on the game,
Hmm.
honestly.
But I don't think a lot of games are really being made with the PS5 and Xbox Series X's architecture in mind. They're made to like for the PS4 and Xbox One and to look slightly better and run better on the newer
I
consoles.
think they were. I think we're getting away
Hmm.
from that now, though. I think everything from
Like
this
it's
point on is
that's what I
improvement.
hate about new consoles now. Is like nothing's like made right away for them.
Well,
Like it's
that
just like, oh, we gotta make it for the old people
yeah,
still.
yeah.
Let's
That's why I'm excited
you
about
know.
this PlayStation event, though, because I do think I'd bet money that all these are PS5 only, all of
Hmm.
them. Not a single
They
one's
should
coming to
be.
PS4.
At this point, they
Um,
should be because like I get it with your yearly release stuff like Madden, whatever. Make
mhm.
that for the PS2 still. I don't care. It looks like it should be on it. Um, but when it comes to stuff like God of War Ragnarok, I think that was like really dumb to make it a PS4 game.
Yeah, I do too. Because
And
if you
I think it
sell,
would have. I think it would have been bigger if it was PS5.
yeah, you
Like people
sell
would have
only
made.
on PS5, and maybe they can't get it right now, but
Hmm.
eventually they will get a PS5, and eventually they will buy God of
I
War
think the Switch
Ragnarok.
people couldn't get a Switch, and it was like or I guess it was on the. Never mind, Breath of the Wild was on the Wii U, but who had a Wii U?
Yeah, no one had a Wii U.
Yeah, those are already
Mario
off the market.
Mario Odyssey is a better example though. That came out the
Yeah.
same year, not on Wii U. That was
Hmm.
only a Switch game. So
Yeah.
no, I agree.
Nintendo's
And
always been good about abandoning their last hardware, so
even though I still remember when Switch came out, Nintendo came out and said we're doing a three-pillar system where we're
yeah,
gonna make
right.
3DS games, Wii U games, and Switch games. I'm like,
And then they killed the 3DS and the Wii U at the same
sure,
time.
sure you will, Nintendo,
Hmm.
for three
I
weeks.
mean, they did the same thing with the Game Boy Advance and the DS. They said it was
Yeah,
like the DS, GameCube, and Game Boy Advance was their future. Like Game Boy Advance wasn't
it's
dying; it wasn't being replaced. And then it
It's
was
for
like, okay,
investors because
yeah.
investors say like, "There's 100 million PS4s out there. Why would you get rid of it?" It's like, well, you see, it actually makes sense that you get rid of it, but
Mhm. I
whatever.
actually really like what Ubisoft did that one time, like with Assassin's Creed. You had your next gen game, and then you had a game that they made for people still on last
Yeah,
gen.
yeah. Black Flag and
Hmm.
Rogue.
Yeah,
I understand why you don't do that in today's
or
market,
Unity. I mean,
where they drop $1 million, and by a million I mean $200 million on a single game. You
hmm
don't really make two games because you're already investing so heavily into the one. But that's a
hmm
overinvestment problem. I think people are
yeah.
spending too much money on games. Um,
Because that's what like people did back in the day. They would still like if you had an older console, they would still make like Sonic Unleashed is a good example. Like they had the 360 and the PS3 game are the same. The
mhm.
PS2 and the Wii game are completely different
Yeah,
games.
they
Like
did that a lot. Yeah,
the Wii, I think that was because the Wii was so big. They still supported the PS2 for so long because they had similar power wise.
yeah,
So like the Wii and the PS2 game are the same game, but they're not the game that came out on Xbox and PlayStation
yeah.
3.
Dude, do you know what
Um,
that means though?
hmm?
That means the next Nintendo console is going to be as strong as the PS4, and that's fucking exciting. It's because some
Yeah.
PS4 games, like Last of Us 2, looks
Mhm.
phenomenal.
But that's the thing. Is like if they can at least do that, then it's like I mean,
Yeah.
even with the Switch, I don't think those games look bad on it.
I don't think so
I think
either.
third party games could look better.
I think they
Um,
look a lot like
but I think there's also
really.
it comes back to what you were saying earlier about how games look these days and how they're designed. I don't think the Switch, the power of the Switch is really good for a multi platform release if that's the art style people are going for. But for
Yeah.
what Nintendo does with it, like I can't complain with how like Breath of the Wild looks or Mario Odyssey looks. I think they look
No,
fantastic.
definitely. But
Same with Splatoon, like it looks amazing. But
yeah, there's a part of me though
they're
that
made for it.
it does kind of hurt where I'm like, God, I just give me Breath of the Wild in a Twilight Princess art style,
Mm-hmm.
please,
Yeah,
please.
because that is the one thing. Like you can't. I don't think that art style holds up at
Mm-mm.
all. Like it looks dated on the GameCube and the Wii, and it didn't look great in HD either. Like they made it look better,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely didn't like
But
is
I
it's not
think
as
in
timeless as like Wind Waker, and I think that's where they hit that happy medium with like they toyed with it in Skyward Sword, and they really
yeah,
nailed it with Breath of the Wild because it's still cell shaded, but
yeah.
it's a little bit more leaning towards the more serious kind of looking Zelda.
But I think that was
It's a
also
bit
a
more timeless.
problem of its time too, because you could only
Yeah.
do so much detail back then. Like the
Hmm.
reason everything is flat textures and stuff is because you couldn't do anything. But then
Yeah.
you look at games from the PS4 generation or Xbox One, whatever, and you look at God of War, the remake, or Last of Us Part Two, or things like that. And I understand these aren't that old, but they are 5 years old at this point. God of War, at least,
Hmm.
or maybe even the original Horizon is a better example, and you go back to it and like those games are still objectively beautiful because by the time they hit the PS4, the power of it, you can go for that more realistic look, and it can be timeless because of the way that you like use lighting and use shading and things like that. Like honestly,
Hmm.
lighting alone in super detailed things makes the difference. If you
Yeah.
Because even in Breath of the Wild, there's some parts where I get into a wooded area and the lighting hits right, and it's like if it's like the moonlight and it's dark, the game looks gorgeous.
Hmm.
But the problem is the only detailed parts of that game are those little patches of woods. And half
Yeah.
the time it's just flat textures and open land and stuff, which is fine. But it would be so cool if you could get Twilight Princess art style, but with 2023 graphics. Because Twilight Princess,
I
get ready
mean,
for this
it would look like
bombshell.
the Wii U tech demo.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Because Twilight Princess is 20 years old at this point.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
I know. I'm sorry. It's 17 years old. Came out in 2006.
We
So
graduated
you got
ages
to
ago.
remember that too. But you make Twilight Princess today,
Hmm.
and then in 20 years from now, it does still look beautiful because it's not running on a fucking GameCube.
Yeah.
We're able to make actual realistic worlds that look like realistic worlds, not
And
like
I
on the
think well,
PS3
the thing is,
where they
I
didn't.
think what a lot of developers aren't doing is having a creative art style. That was the one interesting thing about like Halo Infinite. It had more realistic graphics, but it wasn't like trying to be super realistic looking.
Yeah.
Like it still had kind of like it looked like kind of Halo 3. I think that's what
Yeah.
they're kind of going for. Whereas a lot of people are trying to do just the most realistic they possibly can for everything, like that everything just has to look as realistic as possible. And I don't think I would want that for anything like Zelda and Mario. I
Yeah.
still want them to have their own distinct art styles between games, which
And
I get with the sequel not. Majora's Mask
yeah.
didn't, which is fine. Um,
And
but
when I
like that's
think
like with
of
Mario gets hair, like when you see his individual hair follicles, that's all right. Like because he still
yeah.
looks like Mario.
And I
But
think even going back to the Zelda thing, talking about Twilight
mhm.
Princess, you look at other games. I think God of War 2 came out
Also,
around
could you
that
imagine the
time.
Twilight Princess character faces, like in like high resolution, realistic looking faces? They'd be
Well,
terrifying. They'd be monsters.
that's what I was
A
gonna say is
baby
that
would be disgusting.
Twilight Princess didn't even go for like a quote realistic look. It still
No, yeah,
had some sort of like
it's still
cartoony
goofy
art
looking.
style. It was still
Hmm.
anime. It was still kind
Yeah.
of anime-ish,
Hmm.
but it had more like you play the HD version on the Wii U, and there's parts where you're in castles and stuff, and like the detail on the castles, and
Yeah.
like that game actually did really good with lighting too.
That's the key word right there. Is more detailed games rather than more realistic looking games.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I
It's
think with Tears of
have
the
a unique
Kingdom,
art style, don't just go for like pure realism.
Yeah, and in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild too, to a more extent, is that it lacks a lot of detail because it's trying to render so much of an open world that they had to
Mhm.
forego that detail, and at times it feels like I'm playing like a Play-Doh game. At times,
Yeah.
other times it looks beautiful.
Have you ever done
But
the thing where like you run into an area and the ground does a really weird thing where it
oh
looks like
yeah,
it
oh
rises
yeah,
up? It does that
it,
in Pokemon as well. I don't know if that's like
I don't
a
know.
Switch thing.
I think
Kind
what
of
it
reminds me of
is,
like PS1 like Warble effect.
yeah, I think what it is that it's a like a distance thing and a rendering thing where when
Hmm.
it's farther away it kind of pops up a little so you can still like see some not obviously the small detail but you can still see it detailed
Hmm.
and it kind of gives like this depth of field feeling and then I
Yeah.
think whenever it does that the game is just confused on where you are for a second and then it like loads in correctly where you're supposed to be so it'll pop down.
Yeah.
um
It's
I
really
think that's
weird.
what that is. Anyways, Tears of
Off
the Kingdom
yeah.
recommended.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
We
go
didn't talk
buy it.
like at all really about the game itself. Just kind of about it.
Yeah,
Um, but
worth
no,
7 worth $70.
I think it's worth as much as Breath of the Wild was.
Oh, come on.
It's more.
No, it's worth more than Breath of the Wild for
I
sure.
I do not stand by $70 being a appropriate price tag for video games.
Jake, uh, if you go on the inflation calculator
Hmm.
and you type in $60 for 2016, know how much that is worth today?
But think about how much the $70 is going to be worth in 9 years.
Probably like $2. The rate
Hmm.
we're going, it's worth $77. By the way,
Hmm.
$60 in 2016 is worth $77.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm making more money.
You are. We
Hmm.
all are. Our incomes have national incomes have raised a little bit, not by
Hmm.
much, but also, I mean, come on, it's 70. It's pretty cheap still for a game like Tears of the
Hmm.
Kingdom, especially $70. You've already gotten how much time out of it?
Yeah, but I
30,
got just as
40,
much
50
time out of the
hours?
like games when they were cheaper.
Sometimes. Games are also more expensive back in
Hmm.
the day, too. Fuck, games came out for $90 back in the day.
Sometimes.
In the 90s, a lot of times.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think what was it?
GameCube was 50.
There was like wasn't Donkey Kong 3 like $85?
Something like that, yeah.
Donkey Kong Country 3, I mean.
Yeah. I knew what you meant.
Hmm.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country 3 was like $80, $90, so. And that was back in the 90s. I don't think
Yeah.
I bring this up because Sega announced that they're going to do $70 now. It's everyone now. They're all
Stupid.
70. They're
It's
all 70.
stupid.
I think it's fine. Just either wait 2 months and it'll drop in price to 50, or it's $10 more. Buy a
Uh
subscription.
says problem saving local backup of audio.
Yeah, I don't want to worry about it. We're still
Okay.
recording. I'll let you know if there's a problem.
Okay.
That being said, though,
Hmm.
let's round up the show as we always do with the new big releases.
Okay.
If you go first, you have to read 2 games. You go second, you read 1. Which one do you want?
Sorry, I closed out.
All right, I'll go first.
Okay.
Your first game is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, exclusively for the Nintendo Switch. The epic adventure awaits in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom game only on the Nintendo Switch system. That's ironically, that's what I just said, but that's the first sentence of the description. In this sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild game, you'll decide your own path through the sprawling landscapes of Hyrule and the mysterious islands floating in the vast skies above. Can you harness the power of Link's new abilities to fight back against the malevolent forces that threaten the kingdom? I'm surprised they even wrote that much because they could have just said, bitch, it's Zelda.
Yeah.
And everyone would be like, okay.
All right.
All right, sure.
Sign me up. As long as it's not Skyward Sword, all right.
The second game I'm actually really excited for. I didn't know this existed, but it's out
Yeah.
on early access.
Yeah, I saw that when I was like scrolling through it earlier. Starship Troopers Extermination for PC. Only on PC.
As of now.
Starship Troopers Extermination is a pulse pounding, base building, objective grabbing, co op first person shooter. Join the Deep Space Vanguard, an elite special forces branch of the mobile infantry, in the fight against the bug menace and claim victory for humanity. The deep space mining colony on planet Valaka, designation PE-59, has been decimated by the arachnids. And the Vanguard... Wait, is it bugs or arachnids? You gotta pick one. And the Vanguard has been sent in to take it back. As soon as dropship hits dirt, your trusty Merida assault rifle, build tool, and fellow Vanguard troopers are all that will keep you alive while exploring the hostile surface of Valaka. Would you like to know more?
Dude,
Click here.
when I read that last part, would you like to know more? I'm like, ah, you fucking sold me. Because you're telling me that you at least you get it.
Mm-hmm.
You get it. Is it just a shitty first person shooter? Maybe, but it also could be gold.
I don't like base building and first person shooter being part of the same thing, but
I like base building.
I don't like open ended FPSs. I like being in
Fair.
third person.
It's fair.
Mhm.
That's why you're so excited for Metro Prime 4.
Yeah. Well, it's not gonna be open world.
We'll see.
I
We
mean, if
don't
it
know.
is, I don't know how Metro.
We don't know
would
what the
work.
fuck the game is.
I don't know. I don't know how Metro would work in open world. Honestly, I don't think I'd want it because
We'll see.
it needs,
Everything's
Metroid's
open
pretty
world.
tight.
Everything's open world.
Does it need to be?
What if Nintendo, just go back for a second. What if we're seeing Breath of the Wild syndrome, but it's just taking a long time for Nintendo to like get it? Like Breath of the Wild came out, which Zelda, has always been big, but Breath of the Wild was extraordinarily big. So
Mhm.
then they were like, we got to make all of our games like Breath of the Wild. Restart development on Metroid, restart development on Mario Kart. Everything's going to be open world. And that's why it's taking so long.
What if they're like? What if open world though?
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck it. Give it to Retro.
Retro said we'll do that.
Yeah.
Warhammer 40,000 Bolt Gun comes out on PC. Load up your bolt gun and plunge into battle headfirst. Experience a perfect blend of Warhammer 40,000 classic frenetic FPS gameplay and the stylish visuals of your favorite 90s retro shooters. Play a battle-hardened Space Marine on a perilous mission across the galaxy as they battle against the Chaos Space Marines and Daemons of Chaos. I think it's supposed to be demons, but they're silly British. They spelled favorite weird too. And glorious boomer shooter style. Boomer shooter. Unleash your devastating Space Marine arsenal as you blast through an explosion of sprites, pixels, and blood. Okay, I'm kind of liking this actually, the sound of it. Run, jump, and charge across huge levels to shoot, shred, and slice the worst heretics across the galaxy. Jake, I do want to bring this up real quick because it sounds like this is kind of like classic Doom, Wolfenstein type, old retro FPS with the pixels
Yeah.
and things like that.
Mhm.
Sounds pretty cool. I want to give a shout out real quick to the Steam store. Nothing new. Obviously, the Steam store is great. Thousands of games on there from every single type of developer known to man. For people, teams of 4,000 or teams of 1. Anyone can upload on the Steam store for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
But recently I've noticed that a lot of PlayStation 1 style games have been coming out, and I really appreciate that, and I really dig it.
There was something that I saw recently. I forget what it was called, but it was like kind of going for a Nintendo 64 look.
Yeah, yeah. This one game, I don't know if it's good or not, but I know it just came out. It's called Hrot, Hrot. I think the guys from... Okay, so, you know what? New game, May 16th. This is another one. Hora is a single-player retro FPS set in small socialist country neighboring Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia. After an unspecific disaster in 1986, those times were dark and terrifying, and so is the game. This game looks like a PlayStation 1 game.
It's even got the texture warping.
Yeah. So you're looking up right now.
I see the gameplay.
Like a PlayStation 1 game. And it looks fucking awesome, and it looks kind of scary too. And I am all about this. And I love that this is kind of a thing. I think it started with those one... what was like that murder house with the bunny and things like that? If you remember those games.
Did you see the Dead Space PS1 like demake?
Yeah, and people did that with like Bloodborne and 2, or Bloodborne as well. But I just shout out to the Steam community and just indie developers, because we want those more linear games and we want those older style games. They're still being made. They're just the indie developers now making them. Yeah. And you just got to go find them a little bit more.
That's like, I think indie is always like at the perfect time of like their level of development is always at the perfect time for what I want to play. Like stuff like Shovel Knight and like, they had the Curse of the Moon. What was it? Bloodstained. Yeah. Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon. Stuff like that was coming out when I was like still big into like the retro kind of style of games.
When everyone was hitting that retro craze in the mid-teens.
And then now they're kind of getting to like there's stuff like Hat in Time came out. That's like really big because it's like kind of a GameCube style era, a platformer. And then now we have like stuff like this is trying to capture like PS1 aesthetic. And and like I think just also like the tools and the ease of like game creation using like modern hardware has also made
Mm-hmm.
it to where like people can get to those levels on low budgets as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Warhammer 40,000 bolt gun game.
Mm-hmm.
It looks pretty cool. It doesn't look like a PS1 game, but it definitely
No.
has that like kind of pixelated and like it looks more fuzzy than jagged. I don't know. It's more of a they even say stylish visuals of 90s retro shooters. It looks like they're
Mm-hmm.
going for a 90s style that came out today instead of a
It's
game
kind of
that's from
like
the
Doom.
90s.
Oh, it's like it's weird. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
almost like
weird,
Flash, like glossy kind of
but
graphics.
it's
And
still
it's like
pixelated.
it's like it was a pixelated game that they used AI to like gloss over.
Upres. Yeah,
Yeah, which I hate.
interesting.
That I really don't like this aesthetic.
Get Horror instead. That game looks cool.
Yeah, because that's my big thing. I hate it when people are like, "It's this game but HD," and they just use some like AI to like fucking make it
Upres
a
it.
big blob.
Yeah. Now, Jake, as
Mm-hmm.
always, pick of the week.
So,
Is it going
Zelda.
to be Zelda, Starship Troopers, Warhammer, and I'm going to throw Horror in there too.
That's a tough call, but I'm gonna say Horat.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Zelda.
I would say if you have a Switch and don't have Tears of the Kingdom, get it
Yeah,
right now. And yes, I'm talking to my wife too, who I know listens to this. Get Tears of the Kingdom.
buy another Switch and buy Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, sure. I asked her. I was like, she's the type of person where her phone's been ready for an upgrade for almost a year now,
Yeah,
and she could have gotten like a new phone for free, but she's like, my S10 is fine though.
no, I'm used to be like big on upgrading my phone. I've had the same one since
Well,
like
I mean,
2019 now.
it's even like
Yeah.
with the Switch. I'm like, you want to get an OLED Switch, and she's like, this one's fine.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay.
I
Anyways,
every time I see that Zelda OLED Switch still available to buy, I'm like
I know, right?
more and more tempted to get it, but at the same time, like, oh,
Gotta fight it. It's not worth
it's
it.
fine. Yeah.
It's cool, but it's not
Mhm.
worth
The more I
300 and
play
some dollars.
Zelda, I'm like more also want to buy Link or not Link, uh, Tears of the Kingdom merch.
Yeah,
I really want to buy the amiibo now too. I want to know what it does. I have no
that's
idea
how
what it
they.
does.
That's how they get you. Probably nothing.
Yeah.
Probably gives you a chest.
I know that was the thing that was like really lame about the like Link amiibos from Breath of the Wild. It's like the horse rider Link or the archer Link one didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Though the horse rider Link gives you a cool glider fabric. It's like the Hylian hood fabric or whatever.
Yeah.
Which also I still don't know if all the amiibo stuff is also available to find in the game.
It might be, but I'm not sure.
Like fabrics, like I have so many fabrics, but they're all from amiibo, and I have no idea like if
I've
I was
found
able to
like
just find them.
I found like 4 in the world.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
got one from like the newspaper. I've got one from like Terrytown. Plus the ones you take pictures of for. But like, there's all these like really specific ones like that are like they're like the Demon King one or bygone era princess or the goddess.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Totally. So if you have a Switch, get Tears of the Kingdom. If you have a PC, check out Starship Troopers and Horat. Warhammer 40,000.
And if you have a PC, also I guess check out Tears of the Kingdom because that game was fully leaked and playable on PC.
Don't
But
do
maybe
that.
don't do that.
Don't do that.
That's
Even
bad for
though
everyone.
it does run at 60 and looks better, don't do that. That's stealing. Stealing's bad. If you want to emulate older games, I think I've told you this, but my philosophy is 2 generations.
God, that was
If it's 2 generations old, like I won't emulate Wii U games. I'll emulate Wii games
yeah.
or PS3 games now. It's fine.
That was the worst thing. Like Metroid has such like it needs to sell well, and then like day one, Kotaku was like, "Hey, look at this! You could emulate it right now. Day one, it's perfect on
And then
PC." It's like,
and then
oh, cool,
Kotaku's
thanks.
like, Nintendo's mean, they blacklist us. They're so bullies. Anyway, here's Metroid.
You definitely don't
idiots.
pirate this game. That if you want more,
Kotaku sucks ass.
yeah,
I'm glad that they're not shut down, that they still exist, because that just leads to more of them getting shit on constantly.
right.
And they're just so fucking pathetic over there. Like they're actually pathetic. And if they would have shut down, they'd just been like, okay, they're gone, whatever, they sucked. But since they stick around, we get to see them crying about Nintendo not giving them shit. And we get to see game journalists who notoriously game journalists kind of suck. But when game journalists start dunking on other game journalists, it's like, oh man, you really suck.
Yeah.
When IGN's like Kotaku, you're like, whoa, what did they do?
We got some beef.
So,
Spill the tea.
anyways, that's it for this show. 2 hours again. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
We got this consistently down with 2 people. When there's 3 of us, though, it's chaos. Jake, thank you so much for joining me. Roger's dead.
Well, he's not dead. He messaged. He said he wasn't interested in joining us midway.
Wow.
It was like right when we started talking about Tears of the Kingdom.
He didn't
it was
message
in the
me.
chat.
Oh yeah, he did.
He
okay,
did. You
that's
missed
fine.
it.
Fair. So he's not dead. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he just said fuck us.
Yeah, he's like, it was funny. His response was like, "Hey, you could join us. We're about to talk about Zelda." He's like, "No, I don't think I will, but you guys got this." So I was like, "Wow, what a like proper way of just saying." You could just been like, "Nah." It was like, "No, I don't think I will."
He went Captain America on us.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
maybe that's what he's going for.
Hopefully, he'll be back later this week, so we can talk about the PlayStation experience. Jake, will have to get your opinions on that later if you even watch it. I'm sure you'll watch it. You usually watch them.
You can phone me in.
Nah. But we'll just wait till.
I'll probably watch it on the way because like
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a long time sitting there doing nothing. I'll probably just launch YouTube at some point and just have it going on my phone.
Exactly. So, but thank you for joining me. Thank you, listeners. You might have noticed that this might look a little different. That's because we switched hosting sites. We now do everything through Zencaster. Not that you care, but just all right. Thank you so much for listening. We're rambling. Goodbye.